Okay, Scott and Gay are here now, so we can start. First of all, I want to wish everybody a good morning and welcome to our first budget workshop for fiscal year 2024-2025 for the entire Blount County government budget. I'll call this committee to order. Today starts the presentations by county departments of their respective budgets. We'll hear from some departments today, and others will be presenting at our second workshop on Friday, April the 5th. For any departments who are not presenting in person, you will still have a presentation and budget information in your binders for review, and Brian will explain more here in just a few minutes. As always, there has been a tremendous amount of work done by our elected officials and department heads, and especially our finance team, to prepare every department for what I hope is a reasonable, balanced, conservative budget to be voted on by the commission. As a reminder, let me say that this is a question and answer session for our budget committee members only. There will be opportunity for the public comment at any of our regular budget committee meetings at our budget committee public hearings that are to be held on June the 10th. Of course, anyone can ask any questions at any time by calling any of us directly about our respective departments. Every year, I hope to have good attendance by our Blount County Commission, by our county citizens for these workshops. It's a great opportunity to hear about our county departments from our elected officials and our department heads. Every year we've done this, and some of you, Sharon, you've been with me for 12 years on this, I guess, and we're talking a $230 million budget. And I talked to every group that I talked to about the fact that we come and have these meetings and pass a $250 million budget in this county, and very seldom, if ever, have a citizen even come and listen to how their taxpayer dollars are being spent. It's not just in Blount County. I hear from mayors all over the place, but it's just sad that people aren't more interested in how their county government is spending their taxpayer dollars. Maybe that's a sign that they have the confidence that we're going to do the very best we can, and we are. But it also is very frustrating that our citizens that are not here to watch the whole process of the great job that our elected officials do every year. I mean, we're under our tax rate is under the certified rate. The cost of living as far as government impact on you in Blount County is very low. I appreciate that, and that goes to our elected officials and our county commission, so I appreciate that. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Brian for some additional information. Brian?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to just echo your comments. I appreciate everybody's work and effort into this process. It takes a lot of hands from a lot of different departments. What I'd like to do is just give the committee a high-level overview of what we're seeing in Blount County in some of our major funds. So I'll start with General Fund 101. One of the common questions we get throughout the process is, what is our fund balance? If you look at this graph, you can see that our cash in the bank is just over $50 million at the end of last fiscal year. 33.8 of that is our true unassigned fund balance. The remaining is either encumbered for future purchases, or it is restricted for other specific expenses. But 33.8 million, it's down a little bit from the prior year, so our fund balance technically is staying pretty flat. If you stay with Fund 101 and take a quick look at our expense trend, you can see where in 23 we started to invest in some salary increases prior to the MAG study to kind of head off some of that impact. And you can see here that operations and capital up 11%, personnel up 9%, and that's a combination of the 7.5% we did across the board for General County, and then the 12.5% for the sworn officers in the Sheriff's Department. If you switch over to Fund 131 real quick, You can take a look at their fund balance going from just over 10 to just under 4 million. And if you'll recall, it's pretty easily explained by $4 additional million worth of paving that commission approved, as well as $2 million worth of bridges. And when you look at their operational funds, their operational expenses, you can see that those monies went back into, they were appropriated, they were taken out of fund balance, and they were spent on roads and bridges. Quick look at Fund 141, 13.5 million in cash, a little over 10 million is unrestricted or unassigned. It is down from the prior year, but the general purpose school fund has about a $10 million fund balance. Expenses for Fund 141, personnel up 6%, operations up 28%. And if you'll recall, Commission mid-year approved some bus transportation increases and a few other things. So that's part of the driver here. These numbers are fairly new, and I would just call your attention. There's a lot of information on here. I just call your attention to the fact that this is average daily weighted attendance. This is what the state uses to allocate the funds between the county and the two city systems. This is not number of students enrolled. This is a weighted measure that the state uses. And you can see the change from last year to this year is negligible. It's pretty much flat, which is good news. We don't have to reallocate a bunch of money mid-year here. Jumping over to Fund 127, just a quick update. Utility projects continue to move forward. The vast majority of these ARPA funds have been obligated. If I just go from top to bottom there, Tuckaleechee project, it is going through the bid process, is getting ready to go through the bid process here very shortly, and will begin construction this summer. South Blunt has 2 phases to theirs. The first phase is nearly done, will be finished this summer. The second phase is going out to bid later this month. The bottom 3, Knox Chapman, Friendsville, and Louisville, those projects are all in the engineering phase and working with TDEC. The Eagleton Sports Complex, we held an open house earlier this year, and construction is underway, and it's targeted to be finished for the 2025 season. If you jump to Fund 151, we're currently sitting with $118 million in debt. We will make a payment here in the next couple of months, and when we start the next fiscal year, our debt will be down below $109 million. So we'll continue to pay down our debt, and we're maintaining our credit ratings. If you switch over to revenue just real quick, this is just a graphical look at where the pennies historically have been allocated, where they were appropriated last year. The value of the penny also is on the right-hand side there, and we're going to go up to $662,800 is our projected value of the penny for next year. So what does that mean for property tax? And I apologize, the lines are a little bit small, but essentially, if you compare last year to date to this year to date, we're up just less than 1% in property tax growth, which is less than $1 million to be then split amongst those 159 pennies that are appropriated. Another key driver is sales tax. Sales tax is trending at about just under 4%. And as you recall, sales tax is generally split between the highway department and the schools. Recurring investments, before I talk about recurring investments, if you think about business tax, gas tax, the vast majority of our other revenues are fairly flat, no big ups, no big downs, but the recurring investments continue to go up because of that interest rate, and how we budget these it'll be a continued conversation to make sure we don't use what could be one-time monies to prop up our operations, because these, as the interest rates, I know the Fed decided to hold again, but should they start to reduce rates at any point in the future, this will start to reduce. Also, as we spend those ARPA funds, this will start to reduce naturally just because we'll have less cash in the bank. Requests, highlights for this year's request. When we redid the MAG compensation study, our new step plan calls for 1.7% from one step to the next. So if we were to implement a one-step across the board and then a cost of living, it would end up, once you compound those two percentages, it's about a 3.23% change in salary. Benefits, we're asking employees to contribute an additional 1% in health insurance and an additional 2% in dental. The county also bears those increases. Just it's basically the cost of coverage is going up. And then generally the rest of the operational expenses, what we've noticed is they're generally flat across the board. Gas has been pretty steady year over year. Utilities, all of those, the big hitters that we watch pretty close, they're all pretty flat. And then finally, I'll just direct you to we have the binder like we always have. It's going to have our agenda. It's going to have, each department has a presentation in there. Instead of we have a detailed budget report, we're using a graphical representation instead of that detailed Munis report. We will be providing you a full complement of the Munis reports, a full packet for every department in the county. We'll be doing that sometime in the next week. Additional requests, capital requests, you'll also hopefully hear about those later. So if there's no questions, Mayor, I'm ready to keep moving. I'll kick it over to you.
Thank you. The Animal Center, Adult Probation, Planning and Development, General Services, Finance and Accounting, HR, Emergency Management, Purchasing, IT, and Recovery Court. Now, the best I can figure is at some point they had an elected officials meeting and didn't invite the mayor and voted on what would be under each one of the elected officials' offices. Because I have no idea how the mayor ended up with some of these being under the mayor's office, but it is. So that's the way it is. And I want to say this: each one of those departments right there, when you talk about our animal center, our adult probation, our recovery court, our planning and development, the HR, the emergency management. When you look at across the state, when other counties are trying to restructure or begin doing any of these right here, the first thing CTAS will tell them, go see how Blount County does it, because each one of these departments and the department heads that are in these departments are absolutely the very best. The Animal Center, our probation, every one of these, planning and development, general services, finance and accounting. I mean, I think we've got the very best of the very best, and very proud of the work each one of them do with, and I'm not going to say limited resources because they're not limited, but very conservative resources. Those departments do not do anything in any way to waste any of our tax dollars, and I'm very proud of what they do. And if you look at the next page is our budget trend this is just the county mayor's office. Can we flip that over to there we go. And as of course, the personal expenses, that's payroll, and that has been an increase. But if you'll look at operations and capital expenses, they've been flat now for the last 4 years, and we'll be continuing to do that. So I'm very happy about. We don't do a lot of traveling. We don't have a lot of motel bills or out of town expenses. That's just not what we do. We are very, very frugal in how we spend the money in the office. A lot of times the paper that you get something on will have something on the back because we're reusing the paper over again. So that's just the kind of things that we do to try to save money. And it used to be very frustrating, but now it's become the way of doing business in the mayor's office. Are we taking Q&A right now? Is that for each one, or are we going to do it? Does anyone have any questions about any of these? Now, each one of those departments will be coming and speaking to you at the next meeting, correct? Any questions on that? Well, I appreciate it. Next up, our county trustee. Scott, if you'll just push the button, it'll come right on.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And Brian told me I had 1 minute and 30 seconds to speak, and so I appealed to Miss Hannum, and she said, "Honey, you can have as long as you want." So, the first slide here shows what we do, and of course, I'm Scott Graves. I'm the county trustee. And here's what the county trustee does. A little bit about me. I've got an MBA with about 30 years of experience in finance, accounting, budgets, and management. And I manage an office that collects and accounts for around $250 million annually in state, federal, and local funds. We manage the investment of temporarily idle funds through local bank accounts, CDs, ICSs, and other safe investments that the state approves. And we supervise the cash flow through fund accounting and bank accounts. And you might ask, well, what are the, where's all that money come from? And the primary sources of revenue we have is property tax, local option sales tax. We get some business tax. We have state revenue that comes in, and that's primarily K through 12 education dollars and also some state grants. We have federal revenue that comes in, and that's also some grants and also primarily state and vocational education dollars. And of course, we get local fines and fees, and that comes from our fee offices. And last I checked, most all the fee offices turn in enough money to pay for their operations in their offices. We get court fees, we get fees from probation and planning, and a lot of the other departments. So that's the sources of revenue that we have to collect. And the next slide shows the budget trend for the trustee's office. And then the next one shows the 23-year, and that's just since I've been there. I started.
Back that up and let's.
Yes, sir.
Give you a chance to explain. And it's going to show like this because of our, the fact that we have on our pay, on the compensation plan, that line, that red line at the top, I mean, that's going to pretty much be indicative of each one of every department. I know it looks like it's growing, but that's our employees' pay and what we've been giving the employees. So that's.
Yes, sir. That has grown because of wage inflation, but we'll talk about the workload comparison, and then we'll talk about how many employees that my office has, hopefully showing that I do have a conservative operation. So as far as workload goes, or what we do, when I first started, we had just under 60,000 property tax parcels. So that's about 60,000 people that are coming in or paying by mail or paying over the internet for property taxes. And that has grown 26% to about 75,000 parcels. So the next part is tax freeze and tax relief. And those are important because tax freeze and tax relief take a little longer to service than just a regular customer. So a regular customer just paying their property tax bill might take us 2 to 10 minutes coming in and paying, but the tax freeze and tax relief applicants take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour or some even longer to service those folks. And the tax freeze was started in 2007. The county commission voted that in, and that's why there were 0 applicants in 2000 because the program hadn't started yet. And we get about 1,900 to 2,000 applicants each year at this point. And tax relief, we had about 700 applicants in the year 2000 when I started, and that's grown to over 2,500. Yes, ma'am.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the differences between tax freeze and tax relief? And is that just everybody?
That is, tax freeze is where a citizen a taxpayer can freeze their taxes on their principal residence if they're 65 or older and their income is less than a certain amount. I think that amount for this year is about 43,000, somewhere in that range, and that's.
Sharon, will you push your button? Thank you.
That fluctuates from time to time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It generally has gone up every year with inflation. So the state's in charge of the tax freeze and tax relief. We administer those or take applications here and keep all the paperwork and make sure people are qualified. But the state sets the rules and they make the final decisions on those tax relief folks. But the county commission last year in 2023 voted to increase the income limit for tax freeze to 60,000. So that will be in effect going forward. The tax relief is like a rebate on your taxes, and that comes from the state. We help folks with the application process, and the requirements are similar there, 65 or older, and you have to make an income, and I think the income is less than somewhere, I don't want to say a number because I don't want to misquote, but it's somewhere a little bit lower than what the tax freeze is. And also folks that are 100% totally and permanently disabled and with that same income or less can apply. And also disabled veterans, but you have to be 100% totally and permanently disabled, and there's no income limit on that, and the disability has to be service connected. So I would advise, instead of trying to quote the requirements, I would advise folks to call our office and see if they're qualified, or on our website there's some qualifications that folks go through.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right, saying that our workload has increased, but due to cross-training, all of our employees are cross-trained to do almost any job in the office. We have process improvements, we have better technology than we did, and most of the employees in the office have been with us for a lot of years. We have 6 full-time employees when I first started, and I have 6 full-time employees now. So we've haven't come to you guys and asked for extra employees. And in fact, as far as the part-time employees, we had about 1,800 total hours of part-time employees when I started. And today in this budget that you're looking at, we have less than 60 hours. So in today's money, if we still spent money for 1,800 hours, that would be about 50,000 or a little bit more. And we have $2,000 in the budget for part-time employees. So actually, the number of hours that my office spends and costs the county is less than what it was 23 years ago. And the part I skipped there, we're a fee office designed to collect fees to offset our budget. In 2000, it was a little over 1.1 million, and today it's a little less than 3.5 million. So any questions?
Does anyone have any questions for Scott? Scott, thank you. Thank you for the job that you and your office do.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Next up, Mrs. Gay Hasty.
Thank you all for taking time off your work schedules to be here to listen to our pleas for our budgets for the upcoming year. I know this is a very time-consuming committee to serve on, but I do appreciate everything that you all do and everything that you have to put up with and deal with. What we do, I hate to go through this, vehicle titling and registration, registration of mobile homes, campers, watercrafts, UTVs, et cetera, issue marriage license and business license, process applications for beer permits, process notary public applications and record notary bonds, process applications for passports, collect hotel motel taxes, serve as the clerk for the county legislative body. 23-24 fiscal year accomplishments. We received a clean financial audit for the 6th year in a row since I've been serving as county clerk, and that's always a big sigh of relief once that document is turned in and we know that we've passed everything that we're supposed to. Total receipts for the fiscal year 2023 that our office collected were $20.1 million. We received a clean audit on our license plate inventory. This is something new that the state has not done in many years, but they surprised us with that and came in and did an audit of all of our license plates. And, you know, don't really realize the volume of what we have in our inventory, but this morning we had over 22,000 plates in our vault downstairs to distribute. Now, we'll get some of those distributed today. They move out quickly, but we have 22,000 this morning, and people just don't realize the volume of plates that we have to keep on hand, and the new plates that come out, new designs and everything. There have been several new designs that have come out just in the last couple of months that we're pretty excited about. One is to honor our fallen heroes. That one will be, we can order those on March the 30th. And I feel like that we're going to have a lot of interest in that license plate because of the recent events that occurred in Blount County. It's a beautiful license plate with a police officer kneeling in prayer. Very, very pretty plate. Another one that I find quite interesting is the skull and crossbones plate that is introduced by the Rotary Club of all things. So it's the skull has a patch over his eye because their major fundraiser is for glasses for the needy and children and providing eye exams for children. So that's going to be an interesting plate. So come see us. And Atlanta Braves plate has just come out. So there's a lot of new plates coming out this spring. We processed over 200,000 vehicle transactions this past year. That number has kind of held steady about the past 2 years. When I first took office, they were hitting about 165,000 a year. So people moving into Blount County is, has increased that number on an annual basis. We processed over 3,500 passport applications. We took over 3,250 passport photos, and that is just pretty much clear revenue for the county. Each passport application is $35. We charge $12 for our photos. That's something that we probably need to increase, but most places I think are charging about $17 to $20 now. We really thought that surely everybody in Blount County had a passport, but we just keep making appointments for people. And during spring break, we had over 125 appointments that were booked. And we try to do walk-ins for emergency purposes. So if you come and there's a crowd down at the end of our hall, there are people waiting for passport appointments. Hotel motel taxes are becoming quite a interest in all of our counties across the state of Tennessee. Todd and I actually attended an event yesterday morning in Roane County, a software company that is soliciting business from the counties with the promise of finding more revenues for all of our counties. So that's just kind of opened up conversation between Scott and Todd and myself and what our collections are. As of June 30th of 2023, we collected $6.2 million in hotel motel taxes. That is split 70-30. 70% goes to the Smoky Mountain Tourism Board and 30% stays with the county. So that's just kind of an interesting little tidbit of information I thought I would share with you all that might want to be
Tell me
visited.
that again, give me that number again.
The
How
collected
much did we collect in hotel motel?
6.2 million. Scott, do you remember what the
Wow.
Tourism Authority, sorry. We shouldn't have this discussion yesterday. It's still really fresh on my mind. I guess because the total dollar amount was just a little overwhelming to me. I just thought, wow, that's a lot of funds that we're collecting. But anyway, so there may be more discussion in the future about that. We finally completed also the distribution of all of our new metal license plates that the state promoted. So this past year, we've gone through the redistribution of disability license plates. We continue to cross-train all of our employees in different areas of our operations so that the customers are served to the best of our ability and there's no lapse in services. And, we have events that occur every so often that we're thankful. And last week I had an employee who had to have emergency surgery and missed for several days. So we were thankful that there were no services that were not available, and we just moved right through everything on a daily basis. 24-25 goals. Employee retention is always at the top of my list because I just want to keep people that we train and that are good public servants for Blount County. We want to, in our office, continue to build better team relationships. And we are doing that every day. It seems like, a lot of it's just personality, but it's also things that we promote from within the office. We want to continue to improve our customer service and improve our online services. Changes or updates to the current budget. I don't have any increases that we're asking for. I did decrease the postage budget by $32,000 because we are not mailing out license plates anymore. So we are back to what normal we think it will be. We still have a lot of online renewals and those just continue to increase, but we're not mailing the number of license plates that we were there for the past 2 years. That's okay. There's our budget trend. Like everyone else, it's the personnel expenses that we've increased through the years. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions for Gay?
Thank you so
Well,
much.
I do want to say, if y'all haven't seen what that lobby in front of her office can look like someday, it looks like, I better not use that. And I always tell everybody, it looks like it's halftime at a UT ball game outside the restroom. I'm telling you, that place sometimes is packed with people. And one of the things that Scott talked about and Gay talked about, and I think you're going to hear the same thing from Tom and from Todd, is cross-training by having our people where they can do that's something we've really probably in the last 5 years or 6 years started really working on, and that has really made a big difference, I think, in what we're able to do with what I consider pretty much limited resources. I think it allows us to do quite a bit more and provides a better service. But our elected officials, you know, rather than saying, oh, I need more people, they say, well, we'll cross-train to where when when the load is here, we can move people there. When the load's over here, we can move people there. I think that's really very important in that the public knows that those are the kind of things that our elected officials are doing and working to be conservative and with their personnel. And I'm telling you, there's times that in front of Gay's, and a lot of times that in front of Gay's office, it's to get off the elevator, you've got to excuse me to get through to get to my office. So that's.
I don't think I could do on a daily basis what my people do. They have someone in their face all day long. Yeah. And thankfully, most people who come to our office are in a good mood. They've either just bought a car or a camper, or they're getting a marriage license, and, you know, happy times. So we don't have a whole lot of irate customers. You know, sometimes we have to make them unhappy because we require more documents maybe than what they have, or they don't have the right paperwork. But my people do a fantastic job of dealing with people day in and day out, every minute of the day, whether they're happy or mad, and they do a fantastic job. So thank you.
Next up, property assessor. Yes.
I just wanted to point out for the budget committee while Todd comes up, the hotel motel tax, the 23 actuals, 6,069,000. Of that, 1.8 came to the county general fund. 4.25 went to the tourism authority. The only other thing I wanted to call out, the slides with the expenses and the personnel, you can expect to see that that year, the last year on your slide, there was a 7.5% increase in wages. We also have benefits built in there, so it's salary and wages. So you're going to see some fluctuation depending on who selected benefits, who didn't, but generally it's going to be up 7.5% to 8% across the board. It's just, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Todd.
Good morning. I'm Todd. A little bit about what we do in our office. We're responsible for keeping accurate information of all the parcels in the county, both real and personal. We've got, now it's about 76,000 parcels. 6,500 of that are personal property. Our job's we map the location, give it a unique parcel ID, we appraise it, and we classify it as either residential or commercial. Residential is assessed at 25% of the appraised value, and commercial is assessed at 40%. Some of the accomplishments from the past year, we had a successful reappraisal, stressful at times, I guess to say the least. We're got the 3-star certification for our office for the 3rd consecutive year from the Tennessee Association of Assessing Officers. We're involved with several professional organizations, the Tennessee Association of Assessing Officers, the International Association of Assessing Officers. Excuse me, our staff does a lot of continuing education, take classes, they go to some conferences. I think it's important to see what other peers are doing from across the state, and how we have a good relationship with other assessors around the state, and I think that passes down to the staff as well. We've settled numerous appeals, and the appeals that I'm talking about aren't, well, they are because of the reappraisal, but they're not residential appeals. We talked to lots of people during the reappraisal about appeals, but the settling of the appeals I'm talking about are the big box stores, what we call them. It's like a Lowe's, Walmart, Belk. For instance, we have a Belk appeal coming up next month. It's these type of businesses have appealed their property, even though their tax burden went down for 2023. They have tax reps that that's their job, is to appeal these things. And that takes a lot of time and effort from our staff, and monetarily, it's can be troublesome. So we're continuing to work on that. Other goals, continuing education. Like I said, our guys are continuing taking some classes, both from the IAAO and from the comptroller's office. Locally, just the comptroller's office provides classes for the staff locally here in Knoxville. So I know that as the county updated their website this past year, and we updated our website, our page as well, I think that's important. I think we're going to continue to update ours. I'm not a big social media person. After the election, I don't like it at all, to be honest with you. But that's the way that people see things. So I think the website is a good way. It's the way that we're going to communicate with our constituents. And I think it's just the more we can kind of dive into that and embrace it, the better we're going to get. Changes. I don't have any additional requests. I would like to thank you. I came before you all a couple of years ago and asked for a piece of software to help in these appeals. It's been a tremendous help in the Belk appeal. Well, we think it's been a help. We'll see if the judge agrees with us next month. It's helped validate our numbers, and like I said, we'll see how that plays out next month. But I don't have any other requests like that. But as we find things, I think technology and processes, I think that's the way we're going. So if I find something that I think will help our office, I'll be back in front of you all at that time to tell you why I think that. But we don't have anything like that at this time. And our county's growing, as you all know, and our office's workload mirrors that. So I think cross-training, as Mayor's mentioned, just different process improvements. Nobody likes change. I mean, my office staff doesn't like change. We changed the way we're doing reappraisals. We changed the way we do things in the office, and they're learning to like it a little more, but nobody likes change. So I think that's just part of it, but we're not asking for anything else. I just think as we grow and as things happen, I think that's inevitable. It's the way we do things is going to be a little different. This is my budget trend, and I have a little sharper increase, but that's because we consolidated two budgets. We had a reappraisal budget and we had an office budget. We consolidated those, and that's why that jump. I don't know the numbers, what the budget numbers, if that matters. I don't know what those numbers, what they were, but.
It has a trend just like the rest, everybody else.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's what that is, so. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions for Todd? Todd, I want to say this last year was a tough year, and you took a lot of hits. I think you did an absolutely amazing job. I thought you and your staff were probably as professional as any group that I've ever seen, whether it be in the public or the private sector. I appreciate what you bring to that office and the professionalism that you bring yourself and with your staff. But I know you took a lot of hits. I know your staff took a lot of hits. You weathered it very well, and you did the right. But you did the right thing, and that was the key to what the people want out here. I think when they elect someone, they just want someone that'll do the right thing, and I think you do, and I think your staff does. And I just want to tell you that I really appreciate everything that you've done and what you've brought to that office, the professionalism, and it means a lot to this county, and I hope the people appreciate that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Like you said, the staff, we do take, as elected officials, we do take hits. That's kind of part of it, but the staff took a lot during the reappraisal too. I mean, whenever they went to the grocery store, to church and different things, and they were very professional about that. And I've got a great staff, and we got great people that work here for the county, and it makes us all look good. So I do appreciate that.
Thank you. Next up, Circuit Court Clerk. Tom.
Good morning. Tell you just a little bit about our office. We have 48 employees in our office and 6 separate offices that we have to man. First one is, of course, the circuit court clerk's office, where lawsuits over $25,000 are filed. We take in child support, felony criminal cases. We do the grand jury, destruction of evidence that are on cases that's turned in on court cases. We have to maintain those until after all appeals are done and then we have to get the district attorney's office and the sheriff's department and have that destroyed. The second one is our general sessions clerk's office, where lawsuits are filed under $25,000, sort of a semi-small court, claims court. We also issue order of protections, misdemeanor warrants, and traffic. All traffic citations are filed through that office. Then we also maintain the juvenile court clerk's office, which is here in the courthouse. Our offices, we have our other offices, of course, are in the Justice Center. That is with child support, civil and criminal matters in juvenile cases that we file there. We have an accounting office of 5 people, and we have to balance all of the departments. We have at this time 93 investments that we maintain. That's a little over $2 million. We also have a cost collections department that we started almost 25 years ago now. I think it's first in the state of Tennessee, back when we started our cost collections office. And of course, the cost collections, we strive to collect the court cost and all of the billing that is taxed to the state or to the county. Also, about 5 years ago, we had a bill passed through the courts where we could do it's called a reduction bill, where you could, any cases over 5 years old, you could, sort of like a credit card debt, you could negotiate those, and they allowed the clerk with the signature of the judge on it to discount those up to 50% to pay them in full. That's the thing that they have to do, is if somebody owes $5,000 and you knock it down to $2,500, they have to pay that in full to be able to take advantage of this. And what that allows them to do then is get their driver's license back and be a productive citizen, not having to hide on the back roads and that, trying to go to work and that. And you can see that we've helped over 1,000 people now to get their driver's license back, so that they're not hiding when they're trying to go work and provide for their families. We also issue all the jury summons and maintain all the records for the juries. We send out approximately 350 jury summons every 2 weeks. I guess the question you ask in your own mind is why you send out so many. We're probably one of the only courts in the state of Tennessee that only has 2 weeks of jury service for our citizens here. Hopefully that 2 weeks keeps them, inconveniences them as much. Most counties are not their own judicial district, and they have 4 or 5 counties involved, so they issue jury summons out there, your own call, for 6 months at a time, because the judges go from county to county holding court. So we do that every 2 weeks. That is a lot of work on our part, because of as many people. Out of that 350, we average probably 110 people that we actually get to come and serve, and they have to turn in letters with different medical or whatever. They have to get doctor's excuses, those kind of things. So we have to maintain all those records and look at them and see whether or not they meet the qualifications to be excused from court. And then legislature passed, I think probably about 8 years ago, that you could have one time you could be rescheduled up to a year. So if you get a jury summons and you don't want to serve, you can ask to be rescheduled up to a year. So we get a lot of those that come in, and that we have to go through and look at to make sure that they qualify, so that we can do all of that and then reschedule them to a time. Everybody wants to be rescheduled, like, I'll do it the next month. Well, next month's summonses have already gone out. So it's usually 3 to 10, 12 months before you're rescheduled. Some of our goals, we want to continue to encourage our employees to increase the knowledge through CTAS training and other avenues. We started a education program about 3 years ago, and my chief of staff, Tamara Walker, handles that and has done an exceptional job in that. Right now, we have 12 employees that have enrolled in the basic county finance program to receive their certification through CTAS. We want to continue focusing on building our people up and giving them better knowledge of work that goes in different offices within our department, and better understanding how it affects our departments within the county and how we work with so many different departments, the DA, the public defenders, the sheriff's department. So with our training, we try to give them classes that they can take and stuff so that we all intertwine and everything works together good. We want to continue to train and maintain the high standard of customer service. That's one of the things that I'm very proud with the number of people that we have that come to our windows over there, our customer service, and how our employees show the professionalism of that and the training that we give them. They use that every day, and we're very proud of what they do as far as handling situations. You know, most people that come to our windows are not really happy to be there. So it takes extraordinary people to be able to interact with them and hopefully send them away a lot better attitude than it was when they got there. Changes and updates to the current budget, we have no requests, no new requests. You can see our budget trend is basically the same as most of everybody else's. Our salary line up and down, depending on what the benefits and that is, and with the employees, and you can see our operating budgets and stuff are just about flat. We haven't asked for an increase in those in our budget in the last 3 years in operating. So pretty much it. We don't have anything in capital. Any questions?
Anybody got any questions for Tom? Tom, thank you very much, and thank you for everything that your staff and you do. I think it's important that when we're looking at these graphs, the fact that we're doing a whole lot more and our trend on our operations and cost is still flatlining almost. And that's just, I think that says a lot about what we're as elected officials, you and the other elected officials are doing to maintain. Because and you've said it, and I know each one of them said, we're growing. There's a lot more business coming to the windows and demand on our employees and demand on the services of our departments, but yet we're maintaining a sort of almost a flat line on our operation cost, and I think that's very important that the public know that. And I appreciate your department and what you all do. Thank you.
Hey, I do have one question I would like to ask that the budget committee look at and stuff. We've had issues with our elevator over at the courthouse. We've had one that's been down now for nearly 6 months. I know that it's outdated type and they're having a problem finding parts and stuff, but that puts a real burden on us, especially this past Tuesday when we had 100-something jurors come in, and then the regular court people being there. We had about 300 people coming in that front door. Sheriff's Department, they did a great job getting them through, but having to wait on one elevator to go up and down. So if we could look at trying to get that taken care of, it'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Next up is Chancery Court. Stephen Ogle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Steve Ogle. I'm the Blount County Clerk and Master. We're a small office. It's me, my Chief Deputy Clerk, Selena Sutera Stong, who's here with me, and 6 other deputy clerks. We are a record-keeping office for the court system, where all the county's divorces and probate cases are filed. We also are responsible for the county's delinquent tax sale. That slide basically describes the things that we do. In addition to the things that we mentioned, we also file a variety of other types of lawsuits in addition to the probate and divorces. This shows that we brought in about 1.3 million and some change on last year's delinquent tax sale. As of this year, we've collected 418,000 and some change from delinquent taxes and $890 and some change for court costs. And you'll see there the number of parcels that we had turned over this year for delinquent taxes, as well as our new cases so far this year. There's our case totals on a monthly chart. Our tax sale this year is June 6th. Our office, we're working on cross-training our employees. We've got several people that focus on one thing, and we're trying to make it so that they have multiple duties. The main changes that we're asking for our budget, we're asking to increase our clerical personnel by that $4,000.32 figure. We've got an employee who's a clerk 2 that we want to promote to clerk 3 by virtue of her experience. She worked for many years in the Sevier County court system, as well as a paralegal, and she's very valuable asset to the county and our office. That $7,000 figure is a request for keyless entry in our office. As far as our understanding goes, we're the only office in the Justice Center that does not have swipers for keyless entry. Seems to me that might be a liability issue, but that's what that request is for. It shows our budget trend. There's the clerical personnel item. That shows the line items for, that's our swipers again. And that would conclude my presentation. Are there
Anyone
any
have any
questions?
questions for Steve? Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. Everyone have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Next up is Recovery Court. You want to take a break? Y'all, is everybody okay with about a 10-minute break, 15-minute break? Yeah, I could see. I thought you looked like you were dragging a little bit there, so we'll go ahead. We'll take about a 10-minute break then, if everybody's okay with that. Okay, next up is Recovery Court. Amy, if you would like to proceed. Turn it on. Yes, push it.
Good morning. How is everybody this morning? I want to give my apologies to Judge Harrington. She is currently in a jury trial that is supposed to be concluding today, so she was unable to be with us. So am I supposed to do the clicker?
Yep.
Okay. So I do have an additional request that I think I've brought before you all for the last several years, and I think most of the people sitting here are well aware of what we do at Recovery Court, kind of our purpose and the population that we serve. It's a treatment-based program. We deal with nonviolent felony offenders that have an underlying drug and alcohol and/or alcohol addiction, with most of them having a co-occurring mental health illness in the world that we live in today. That has become a larger trend than what it was maybe, I don't know, how long have I been doing this? 14 years ago when I first started in this line of work. Just focus on a few of our accomplishments for the past year. We have graduated, that says 24, which was the number when I submitted that. We now have, that total is up to 26. On Wednesday, we completed 2 more participants that graduated from the program who will be in our next graduation. So since July 1st of 2023, which started the fiscal year, we've now graduated 26 individuals. We now have, instead of 12 more, we have 10 more that are scheduled to complete the program by the end of June 2024. We currently, this past year, have been honored to be one of the departments to receive the Maryville College Elite Interns. I believe that's an internship that the county began this year. And Maryville College wanted to send 2 interns per semester to Blount County. I don't know what other department was a lucky recipient, but we were able to hold interviews as if we were interviewing for a job and have some say-so in the interns that we got. And we have been very pleased with the level of professionalism and ability of the interns that we've gotten from Maryville College, which I think says a lot for a college here in our own county, in our backyard, to be supporting that. Sydney Marr, who is our current intern, will be with us through April 11th, and we're gonna really hate to see her go. They've been instrumental in helping us with clerical updates and with computer. I mean, I'm sure everybody here knows the younger generation knows a whole lot more about computers, and they just keep getting more technical, so they've been very helpful in helping us learn Pronto and kind of get our new case management system. The learning curve has been much quicker, having those young minds in our office to kind of help us with intuitive ideas and ways to just kind of be a lot more productive. We have successfully integrated the Access database, which is the database that is going away. Apparently Access is kind of becoming no longer accessible, and so Pronto has they've taken all of our information out of Access, so we are getting a lot closer with what we're doing with Pronto in our case management system. The Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services did both a fiscal and a program monitoring of our program this year. The audits went well. They were timely, they were there for a minute, but asked good questions, gave us very good feedback. I'm always looking for ways that we can perform our job better and more efficient, and so both of those reviews went really well, and I'm excited to actually get the written reports as to what their final say is. We have not got those yet. Some goals for 24-25. We want to complete the Pronto case management training with our case managers so that we have that program up and running. The plan is to begin training case managers hopefully by the 1st of May, but we're kind of ahead of schedule, so that might actually get to start even in late April. We are hopeful to be able to hire a new treatment specialist, which is where I want to spend most of my time with you today. We are currently working to update our curriculum and our class layouts. As the drug trends change and as our population changes that we're serving with age and with issues, it's always good to look at our curriculum and make sure that our curriculum is current and effective for the individuals that we are providing a service to. We would like to identify any updated training opportunities on new drug trends. We have been fortunate to find several that are webinars, which helps cut hopefully some cost in training areas, but that is one thing that we're looking at. And to identify, always identifying community partners to assist in locating affordable housing options to participants that are leaving transitional housing. I know as commissioners, you are overwhelmed and probably very tired of hearing about the housing issues, so I'm not going to harp on that, but for our population that we serve, that has become just a critical situation because there just aren't many places for them to go, and transition housing and treatment facilities are not meant to be forever homes. So we continue to look to our community partners and find ways that we can find affordable places for them to rent and to transition to once they are at that point. We don't want to get into a trend where we're providing services to people and then sending them back to where they were when they came to us, because that is like starting that cycle all over again. So this is quickly becoming a huge issue for us. So that's one thing that we're trying to get ahead of and look at ways that we can kind of get in front of that. And just to continue to provide a transparent program to the high-risk, high-needs individuals that safely places them back into our community. Our number one goal is to help people get their lives back and to make them the productive members of society that we are being asked to give, so that they are working and that they are providing back and not taking from the community that they live in. This is the budget trends. I want to thank Carrie for going over this with me. It's a new document this year, which I think is a great visual for you to have and to look at. It kind of shows the trend of our personnel expenses, which, you know, that comes, we haven't added to our department, but with raises and things such as that is where you see that trend going up. On our operational expense, you can see that our operational expenses have consistently remained pretty flat, and a lot of those rises in that is coming from our state grant, because at the state level, they're seeing what we're doing, and we have continued to get extra money through our state grant. You'll see in this year, we got another across the board increase in the amount of money that we're getting from the state. I have a budget amendment that I'll be bringing to the commission in April, that the state, now that they've finished next year's numbers, there's some excess money left, and so we've gotten some additional money to add to our current year budget that I'll be bringing to the commission in April. So a lot of that shows on that, and of course our capital expenses, we don't have capital expenses, so. Additional requests, this is where I'd like to spend our time. I would like to just let you know I have brought Molly Cochran with me today. She is our one of our treatment specialists in the office. She is a LPC-M8 SP, and I'll let her explain her licensing and her credentials. In the treatment world, you will find that there's a lot of different treatment specialists, and they all have different letters after their name. I have tried my very best to become more vigilant in understanding that, but Molly is a licensed professional counselor, and she has been with us now for 8 years. She began as an intern with us. She was working to get her license, and so during her time with us, she started as an intern, she interned with us, she went through her supervision phase, and she has now been licensed for about 3 years, and that's all happened during her time with us. So additional requests. So the total number that you're going to see there includes everything. That is the cost that it would take to get an additional treatment specialist back to the third that we used to have once upon a time. You have some documents that I've added into your folder, and I just feel like they kind of help paint a picture for you a little bit. One is just our statistics. Deanna Reed, who is our office manager, is amazing at helping give me visuals. I always have people wanting to know our success rate and kind of how that looks, and these numbers just kind of help explain it a little bit. So as of in February the 24th of 2024, we started February 1 with 122 active participants. Of those 122 active participants, 8 of them were admissions. Or we had 8 admissions to that 122, which means we had 130 people total that we served in the month of February. It breaks down for you the people that through the month of February left our program. The 2 graduates, we had 1 that was a discharge, with a total of 3 people that left the program, putting our end number for that month at 127. So that's kind of how you read that graph when you're looking at it. But the Recovery Court Stats is a new document that she's been keeping up with that I think really helps show the success of our program and kind of where we're at and where we've been. I'll first take you back to 2016 because that's where she started this. And in the year of 2016, we admitted in that year 54 participants. Of those 54 participants, 20 of them completed successfully with a 37% completion rate for all the individuals that started our program in 2016. 30 were discharged with a 56% discharge. 3 were withdrawn. A withdrawal can be anything from the court case expired while they were in our program, so it wasn't a discharge or graduation. It wasn't anything due to them that caused that to happen. It's an outside circumstance, and we had 1 that was deceased. With a total percentage of 54% of the 100% of what was started. So I want to bring you down now to 2018 to the 2020 years. During those times, we had 3 treatment specialists in our program. We admitted more people. We had, if you'll look at how those translated, our numbers were going up, our success was going up, what we were doing was going up. 2020 was COVID. COVID was one of those years. I think it was one of those years for everybody. But in 2021, we were able to bounce back with a 31% completion rate. And I want to mention, of the numbers for 2021, we still have 18 of those people that are still in our program. So of the 70 people that began our program in 2021, there are still 18 of those that we are providing a service to today. Our program is meant to be a minimum of 2 years, but what this number shows you is we work with people at the level where they're at the speed that they're at. So, if somebody needs 4 years or 5 years to complete our program, as long as they are showing progress and they are not reoffending, they're not using, they're not running, they're staying put and they're working through their issues, we're providing a service to those people. So I think that's an important thing to look at. As you can tell, our admitted numbers have gone down a little bit. I think there's a lot of things that play into that. I don't think that is solely because we only have 2 treatment specialists. I think a lot of it plays into the court system and the referrals that we're getting. All of our referrals are court referred. It's not like we have our doors open to the community. We are dealing with court referred individuals. So there's that. We are looking to build those numbers, but at the same time, we can't take on more people than what we have the ability to serve. So that brings me back around to my request. So when I'm looking at adding a treatment specialist, there's a lot of stuff that comes to that request. So we want to be able to provide more consistent, more comprehensive treatment as services to this high-risk, high-need population. We do have a very conservative budget, but at the end of the day, that budget is used solely in-house to provide the services. Our people, they get out of jail. While they're in, we have the stabilization phase. We're providing services to them before they're released. We think that is highly important to be able to reach them while they're on the inside, kind of get them prepared for walking out the doors. That increases their chances of staying with us and not running immediately. But when they come to our office, they can come into our office and they're going to meet with their case manager. They're going to meet with their treatment person. They're going to meet with, they're going to come there for their classes. They're going to come there for their drug screens. They're not having to go to a lot of different places. We do partner with Helen Ross McNabb. We do not prescribe medications. So when we have individuals in our office that have mental health needs, we refer them to Helen Ross McNabb. We set up those meetings with them. Sometimes we go with them to those meetings. What we found, and I think I can ask this question to you all across the board. When you start thinking about therapy, when you start talking about going in and sitting in a room and talking to somebody about all those issues, we all have those issues, maybe not the same as what the population we're dealing with, but we all have things that sitting down with somebody and dealing with them could be helpful with. But the mass majority of us, to include myself, don't feel comfortable going and sitting in a room and telling somebody all of our problems and getting help for that. Our participants are somewhat reluctant to that as well. So when they come into the office, we're building that rapport with them when they're still in the stabilization phase. And we're walking them through that, and we're scheduling sessions with them, and they may not want to be there. And it may take them a year of coming to therapy and sitting there not really saying a whole lot of anything before they really come into therapy and start saying a little bit of everything. If you've had the privilege of being at one of our graduations, you've heard our graduates talk about the effect of the treatment that they received on their success and being able to graduate the program. It is a very integral part. It's a part that we are passionate about. It's a part that we feel like works. We're the only recovery court that has it, which I take a lot of pride in that. But we need the third therapist. We need that. We have 4 case managers that we separate our 127, 130, we fluctuate on that number regularly, that they are divided between. So all these people are divided between 4 case managers. And it takes that. They're going to court with them. They're dealing with their issues. They're dealing with non-compliance. And they're able to really get in there and work with them long-term. But we have 2 treatment specialists who are trying to address the needs of all 127 people. And we're finding ourselves getting in a Band-Aid effect type thing where if they may need an hour-long session, but there are only so many hours in the day, and they don't spend the whole day in the office. You know, they still have their notes that have to be put in. They have classes that they have to teach. So we're finding ourselves kind of in this catch-22. We don't want to stop taking people in. We don't want to stop providing a service. We don't want to put a cap on that. We've tried. It doesn't work. When you start putting a cap on how many people you're going to take in and putting a waiting list that takes a long time, the legal system gets backed up. There are options of places that they can send people, but there's not a lot. So when they start seeing that their people are going to have to sit in jail and wait to start our program, they start referring other places, and we start seeing our referral numbers go down. That is one of the effects that happen on our numbers. So we're trying to work around that. Shannon Dow, who I think a lot of you know, who works at Helen Ross McNabb, she has been amazing. She sits on our team. We have our other treatment specialist, Marie Stanley, is doing her supervision with Shannon. Shannon understands our program, so she's been an amazing help to Marie and her supervision. And we've had meetings with her, you know, how can we do this different? We've discussed referring for therapeutic services to Helen Ross McNabb. They're overwhelmed as well. They have a waiting list as well because it's not just people in recovery court who need therapeutic services. You know, we have a whole community full of people that need therapeutic services. So they get the referrals from all the different places that are not recovery court, that don't have therapists in-house. So we had a meeting with Shannon on February the 9th. Myself, Molly, and Marie, we sit down with Shannon. We kind of talked about some different things. And at that time, we were talking about, you know, well, what would it cost will we come out cheaper if we did contracted services to send people to Helen Ross McNabb? What would that look like? And at that time, you know, she said, I can only give you a ballpark number, which would probably, depending on the services, she felt like would be between $55,000, $65,000. So we got to looking at that. And I said, well, how does that break down? And she said, a lot of that is going to depend on the services because you would be paying per session, you would be paying per service. And so if you start looking at, they need EMDR treatment, which is a higher form of treatment as opposed to just CBT, you know, the type of treatment that they need, the assessment to get the treatment, all those would be individually paid. If they need 2 sessions a week, you would pay for the 2. If they needed 1, if it needed bi-weekly. And so we kind of left it at that because it started getting kind of, so it would be a billing process. There wouldn't really be a lot of, what would that be? So yesterday, I reached out to Shannon, and I have the email, and I would be happy to share the entire email thread with you all. I want to be transparent on everything that I've done. And I just emailed her, and I said, I present my budget tomorrow morning. I know we've talked about this, but just want some good numbers, some good concrete numbers of what I can present to the budget committee. I said, if the county contracted with Helen Ross McNabb, what would it cost for us if we were sending 30 participants to you all for therapeutic services? How much would that cost? Because that amount would have to be increased in our contracted services line. And right now, I'm asking for a person. She responded that she would have to get with the CFO to get a number, but then later that evening responded to me at 4:41, basically saying, hello, the cost for a full-time therapist to be designated to recovery court only would be $120,000. Please let me know if you need this information broken down. Our CFO can better explain the cost. So I have asked her to give me the breakdown to see if she could get the breakdown. I don't have that for you here today. But what that number means is, they don't have the staff to just start taking on our individuals now. So that's what it would cost for them to hire somebody to provide this service. So I break that down and I come back to the request that I have. Molly and Marie, they have committed to anybody that comes into recovery court, they provide that service for them. If they need to be seen weekly, then they find a way to see them weekly. If they need to have EMDR, they are both trained to do EMDR training. If they need medication, they can recognize people that need mental health medication and refer them to Helen Ross McNabb for that. I've seen them go to the appointments with them. It comes back to what we offer and how special it is what we do here in Blount County. I'm not opposed to any suggestions that would come to me as to ways that we can do this different, but I do want to make my plea to this body and to the full commission if necessary, that I think there is some real amazing work that happens having our treatment people on staff. They're there, they're available. If there's an emergency, they don't have to get an appointment. They just have to walk in the door. That's what we do here. That's part of what makes what we do special. And that is one thing about our program I don't want to change. I don't want to change the dynamics of what we do and how we do it, because it has historically shown to work for those people who truly want to make the life change. So I've talked a lot. Questions? For me or for Molly. Molly is here to answer any questions you might have from a treatment perspective.
Mr.
You have a
Chair,
question?
I do.
and I've got about 5 as well when he finishes.
First of all, thank you for all that you and your team does. It's very important. A couple of questions. Are each of these treatment specialists, are they assigned to a participant? Does each participant have their own treatment specialist, or do they kind of just, whoever's available?
Yes, they are. Everybody in our program is assigned to a treatment specialist and to a case manager. So everyone that comes in is assigned to either Molly or Marie at this point. The way that works is if Molly's on vacation or Marie's on vacation and somebody has an emergency, they are available. They can see the other one just for an emergency type basis, but there is a lot of ethical therapeutic issues when you start, and stop me if I'm saying this wrong, when you start therapy with an individual, there's an ethical binding commitment there. So it's not ethical for them to just come in and just bounce from Molly to Marie, or, if we were to contract with Helen Ross McNabb, anybody that is currently being seen, and I'll use Molly as an example because she's here, anyone that is currently being seen with Molly, there's still a time process because Molly has to therapeutically close out her services with them, explain to them what's happening, and then kind of assist them in starting therapeutically with another treatment person. So there's an ethical process there. It is unethical for someone to be seeing 2 therapists at the same time. So of the 127 people that we have, that's divided by 4 case managers, they're also divided between 2 treatment specialists.
Okay. What does the typical week look like in terms of seeing participants for a treatment specialist? In terms of numbers, session length?
Yeah, so I would let Molly come and answer that. She's nervous, remember, she's used to sitting in a room with one person, one-on-one,
Yes,
so.
I've never been to a budget meeting, so. So typically what it looks like, so I was looking at the numbers yesterday, and between Marie and I, we both basically have around, it kind of fluctuates, but 60 clients each. So we pretty much are back to back. We start at 8 o'clock, get done 4:30. So we are usually back to back with individual sessions. We do have to make time for, we have to do notes. We have to, ethically, we have to do that. And then we have to do treatment plans. We also do groups. We do groups on every other Monday evening. And then we do groups every Thursday in the stabilization phase in the jail. We also have to do assessments as well. So we have to go into the jail, and it takes at least an hour to do a proper assessment with someone. So we have to kind of juggle and, kind of fit people in where we can. And sometimes that comes with, we have to shorten our sessions. An appropriate session is usually 50 minutes long. But what we're finding with just the amount of clients we have at this time, we're having to cut our sessions shorter. And what happens with that is then we're not able to do, we can still do short-term therapy and stuff like that, but with our population, it's very high risk, high need. A lot of our clients have a lot of trauma. So when, and just pretty serious, mental health issues in general. And with that doesn't allow us to use some of the evidence-based therapeutic techniques because they take at least 50 minutes, sometimes longer. And then we have some clients that sometimes need 2 sessions a week based on their risk and needs. And so then that kind of requires us to have to schedule out other people a little farther because we have to see the immediate high risk with like self-harm or stuff like that. So I don't know if that kind of answered your
Yeah, it
question, but that's
does.
kind of gives you an idea of the kind of the process.
About how many people do you see a day, typically?
I see at least 6 clients a day.
Okay, and what would be ideal from your all's perspective on how many people you fit in a day?
I would say probably a good, because the problem is that we also have groups that are running throughout the day that Maria and we have treatment, assistants. And so they are able to run the groups, but they can only do so much in group because they're not trained therapists, right? And so we also have groups that we would like to be a part of. So we would at least I think an ideal, if I had to just off the top of my head, would be like 4 a day, which would allow for any crisis that come in and also be able to work with groups as well, because I do feel like the groups are not getting enough attention as they need as well. And so, and then what happens if we don't have a little space for, like if someone with a crisis would come in, I don't have any room, I have to reschedule someone, so there's not a lot of wiggle room at all, so.
Okay, thank you.
And even with seeing the 6 people a day, even at that, they're not seeing everyone assigned to them, right? With seeing 6 people in a in in a day's period, there are still numerous people that are on their caseload that are being seen bi-weekly or every third week. And where that runs in, you get a lot of people that, feel like they're good, they don't need therapy anymore. And so they have to instead of continuing to try to work with some of those people, if they're coming and they're filling up a therapeutic spot, but they're not taking advantage of that in the way that they have to, then they end up getting further out, where what our program has shown over the years is if you keep scheduling that person and you keep working with them and bringing them in on a regular basis, they start seeing the benefit of coming and they break down that need. So a lot of that persistent, continue to schedule them, continue to work with them, even on a small basis, sometimes that gets pushed out because they have so many people that want the therapy. So you can't deny them. You can't deny the people that are wanting to come and are wanting to work on their issues to try to provide that service for the ones that maybe are a little more reluctant. If that makes sense.
Ms. Hannah?
Hi, Amy.
Hey.
So one of the first things that I would like to ask you to refresh my memory on is your revenue sources. What are your revenue sources primarily?
Other than through the county, we have the state grant that has been a reoccurring grant that we've gotten since before I came to Recovery Court. And I'll have to look at my budget real quick. That went up this year. Sorry, that's what I have Carrie for, is my numbers. Carrie and Brian are my numbers people. I think this year it went to, it went up.
That's okay. Just kind of a percentage.
And then we have it's being called everything. We have another small grant. We get about 10,000 from the state. That grant fluctuates what it's called. It was the ADAT spot grant at one time, and then it went to the criminal justice grant. I mean, it's the same pot of money, it just changes names. We list it as, I think, other state grant is how we list it on our budget. We don't hear from it. Like, we've been getting that every year. I've yet to be told if we're getting that in fiscal year 24, 25. So that's one of those things that we hopefully will find out before the final budget process comes along and put it into our budget. But as of right now, the state has not told me I'm getting that money, so I can't reflect that it is. But other than that, the rest of our revenue is from the county. We do get some through the clerk's office. Tom would have to speak to that because we don't really have any control on how those revenues come in. And I think he probably speaks to that when he does his budget presentation.
So it's fair to say that your primary source of revenue is just through whatever is granted to you through the county?
Correct.
Okay. The second thing is when you were talking about follow-up, does that include after graduation, or is just follow-up through the time that they're actively engaged in the program?
So historically with our program, we have always had an open door policy. If someone has provided services through us, they've graduated, we're a safe place. So when stuff starts going wrong, we're the first door they come through. And historically, we have always tried to provide a service for them or refer them somewhere where they can receive a service similar. We have now started a curriculum. Molly and Marie have started this, that they do a presentation that they present to the aftercare class that provides them with a list of all the resources in our community depending on the needs. Is this a crisis? Is this an inpatient need? Is this an outpatient therapy need? And they've set this up with our aftercare to tell them that when you graduate our program, we will continue to provide services if you were actively in therapy at the time of graduation for 6 months post-graduation. During that 6 months, they're going to be working to close out their therapeutic services with them and get them established with another therapist who can continue with the therapeutic services. If it's past that 6-month time frame and they come back, I can't shut the door on people. I just don't have that ability. What we're going to do at that point is we're going to pull that list of community resources and we're going to sit down with them and we're going to start making phone calls to find the help that they need to get the assistance that they need.
The other thing, as you speak to that, does Recovery Court have any relationship with the Celebrate Recovery programs?
Absolutely. We encourage all of our participants. We display flyers. They have to do outside meetings. We do not have a requirement of what those meetings are. Everybody has different beliefs, so we don't come in and say, you have to go to Celebrate Recovery, you have to go to NA, you have to go to an outside meeting. You have to start from the day you get out of jail, developing a network of people outside of Recovery Court that when life starts throwing you curveballs, you have those people. You have to get a sponsor and you have to attend meetings. It is the hardest requirement of our program to actually police it, for lack of better words, because people can sign a meeting sheet. We don't physically go to the meetings with them, but we do provide listing of opportunities, not just in Blount County, but also in Knox County. We give them a list of all the resources in Blount and Knox.
Okay, and as you were talking about the in-jail phase.
Yes, ma'am.
If you need or find that there is a need for contracted services, how does that impact Sheriff Barong's side of things for people coming into the jail? Would they be coming in? Would it be necessary for them to bring them down and across the parking lot to you? How would that interaction take place? It does not disrupt your department nor theirs.
So you're talking about like Helen Ross McNabb if they need mental
Yes.
health assessment? So the Sheriff's Office is wonderful to work with. Let me go ahead and say that. We're also fortunate here in Blount County to have a great partnership. They provide us classrooms to go in and do our classes. It is actually very common for us to have someone who is either in on a sanction or someone who is in the stabilization phase that has got some serious mental health issues that they can't be successful if we don't start addressing those before we get them out. They need some type of medication to like slow down the rapid thought process. The Sheriff's Office is wonderful. They will, if we can get an appointment, they will do phone assessments. If we can get an appointment, they will transport them to Helen Ross McNabb for the assessments. They allow Helen Ross McNabb to come in and do assessments inside the facility. They have been great. We have a representative of the Sheriff's Office that sits on our team. He knows exactly what the needs are. He knows what's going on. Not just with Helen Ross McNabb, but also if they're going to a placement such as Jelinek or Iron Gate, where a phone call is required to get them accepted there, they make that phone call happen so that phone call with that placement can take place to facilitate getting them into a placement quicker. So we have, and they don't get paid extra to do that. I don't know if that matters, but that's a partnership. The people that sit on our team, Helen Ross McNabb, the jail, the judge, the DA's office, the public defender, they carve out their time to come to our staffing on Tuesday, their time to come to court on Wednesday mornings. And that's not, we're not paying them for that service, and I don't think that's an extra pay. They just make that part of what they do because they believe in what we're doing.
Now, in full disclosure, I knew the answer to the last part, but I needed everybody else to know that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for what you do. You guys do an awesome job.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Amy. I appreciate it very much, everything that you all do. Thank you.
And if I could just say, if there is anything moving forward, especially going to the full commission, that you feel like I haven't answered or I haven't presented or maybe would be helpful in presenting to the full commission, please let me know. If I'm not expressing something or I'm not giving you information that you need, it's not because I don't want to, it's because I don't know what information you're needing. So please feel free to reach out to me and let me know what I can say or provide that might help. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Juvenile Court, Judge Foster.
Good morning, Mayor, Commissioners, Ms. Hannah, Mr. Baldwin, Ms. Barrett. I'm going to keep this short if I can. I know you're behind. So, budget request for this fiscal year, same as it was last year. You all can read, I know. That's who we are. That is what we do. This is also what we do. We have a lot of cases get filed every year. And our accomplishments for this last fiscal year, we were named one of only 11 implementation sites by the National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges. It is a very high honor. They will be working with us over the course of the next 2 years to bring us to implementing what they call the enhanced resource guidelines. They are model standards promulgated by the National Council. We're very fortunate to have their technical assistance over the next 2 years. We presided over, these are in-court trials, the magistrate judges over 1,600 trials, myself over 1,300 trials. One of the best outcomes this year, we've been really hitting it hard, is we've reduced the number of children in foster care by almost 20% from January 1, 23 to December 31st, 23. And our goals for the next fiscal year, continue to improve our services, decriminalize behaviors, rehabilitate children. And I will let you all know, you may have seen it yesterday, that the Opioid Abatement Council awarded their initial grants, and our Journey Court, which is a specialty court for children who have co-occurring mental health conditions and substance use disorders, has received a grant to implement that and to bring intensive outpatient treatment to adolescents in Blount County, something we have needed for 2 decades. So that's it. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions?
Thank you
Judge,
much.
thank you very much. Next up, General Sessions judges. Judge Brewer, Judge Hedrick.
Good morning. First of all, Judge Gallegos regrets he couldn't be here. A family member had a planned medical procedure, so he's with them. And before we go any further, I want to reintroduce our judicial assistants, Cora Ramsey, Becky Swatsina, Sharon Hunt. They keep the engine running. I'm going to be quicker than Judge Foster. We are, other than what we hope you'll give them an increase in what's required by statute for us, we are asking for the same amount of money that we had last year in operating expenses. What we do has not changed. What we hope to do has not changed. Our budget, frankly, is it's really boring. The only thing sexy about it is the folks that are presenting it.
And we're not boring. We are not boring. Is that it?
That's it.
Well, Judge, I'm not gonna say, I better not. But you opened the door. Anyway, all right, thank you, judges, we appreciate. Does anybody have any questions for the judges? Doing good. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Judicial Commissioner.
Yes, go ahead.
So, same situation. What we do hadn't changed. What we continue to do won't change. The only budget request we're making is what this committee and commission would provide as a pay increase for our employees. Our operating budget that we're requesting is exactly the same as last year.
Okay. Any questions from the judicial commissioners? Thank you, Judge. Continue on.
Jimmy?
Next up is 911.
Reluctantly coming up is Susan Porter, who is our assistant director. This is her first time here. So once again, you folks know how we're funded. We get monies from each of the 3 governments, from the state, from the little fee that you pay on your phone bill. And so from Blount County, we are asking for the same amount of money that we had last year. We're not asking for an increase.
Any questions on that one?
And you can see we've got a more detailed as to what we do. Jimmy, go ahead and say something there.
Oh, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, committee members, thank you for your time this morning. As you well know, just quickly, I've included some numbers to let you see how our numbers are going up with phone calls, with calls for service throughout all of our public safety professionals. So we're able to hold our own this year. We've also got some increased requirements from the National Crime Information Center through the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. That's causing us to have to do extra work for some of our agencies. Right now, we're able to absorb that as well, but coming in the next year or two, as you all know from our community growth and things of that nature, we will probably have some needs. So we wanted to show you that we are fiscally minded and that we're trying to do the best, get the bang for our buck, and just in layman's terms, give you all a break a year. So, but we may be, or most likely will be back with the judge's consent, of course, next year with some needs. So thank you all.
We won't ask for two if we just need one, okay? We'll ask for one.
Well,
we're not gonna play that game.
Chief, I'm just looking at your calls for service on your CAD system, and I mean, you're looking at almost 20,000 more calls from last year or from 2022 to 2023. So I mean, that's going to only grow.
Yes, sir.
So I mean, and you're right.
As the judge said, Mr. Mayor, we're fiscally minded. You know, we don't want to ask for something we don't need. We want to get the most out of what we've got, and we're going to make it work this year. So yeah. I appreciate y'all and your understanding. You've been very supportive of our district.
Yeah, and we're finally fully staffed. We've been down for how many years? 4 or 5 years?
Yes, since before COVID.
We finally now have all of our slots filled with really good, competent people. And that's helping quite a bit because we were, you know, folks were having to work overtime, and, you know, it's a stressful job to start with. And then you're having to fill in for other, you know. So
I would say if any of you have never had a chance to go down and see what all happens down there, it would be well worth your time just to spend about an hour seeing what happens minute by minute inside that building. So, because it's pretty amazing what the work that they do and what they provide for the county and the safety of our citizens. So thank you all very much for that.
Thank y'all.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Judge.
Good to see you again. Yeah. We'll try to help you catch up.
Yeah, thank you. You've helped a lot. Next up, probation.
Good afternoon.
Joni.
Joni Surratt, Director of Blount County Probation. It's hard to follow Judge Brewer there, yeah. But anyway, here I am. Just a little bit of what we do. We're responsible for the supervision of individuals who have committed misdemeanor offenses and have been ordered to supervise probation by the Blount County General Sessions Court. We also supervise individuals who have pending criminal charges and have been released to pretrial release supervision as a condition of their bond. We offer a batter's intervention class and a 12-hour DUI school. We also manage a community service program for individuals that are ordered to community service and they're not on with us for probation, as well as the offenders that do get community service ordered to them as well. We also supervise individuals through a daily, weekly, or monthly meetings. So when we follow the rules of the court and the rules that they've placed upon these individuals for probation or pretrial. So we're constantly busy. We're meeting with them. However, the courts have addressed them to be meeting. We contract with an electronic monitoring company for our GPS, drug patch, and alcohol monitor needs. We currently have 19 people on our GPS units and 10 people on our alcohol units. We have several on our drug patches as well, and those are just additional tools that help us supervise our our clients. In the fiscal year of 23-24, we had 1,441 community service hours that were ordered to our clients from January 1st of 2023 to December 31st. And some of those, I mean, they have set periods of time that they have to complete those. Some of those are a full year, so you'll see. But in between January and December, 558 hours of those were completed by the last day of the year. 40 hours of those were completed at the Blount County Animal Center, 348 hours were completed at CARM, and 170 hours were completed at Goodwill. So these are, hours of work that these individuals are out there having to do as part of a plea or referral from the court. We held 6 DUI school classes in 2023, so we had 151 students that went through that class. We hold them 6 times a year, and they're 12 hours long. They're 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and we contract that out with Knox County, so we partnership with them. We do all the referrals in the court. We do the registrations. We have people there to come in and check everyone in for those days. And Knox County supplies the instructors and the certifications for the DUI school for those individuals, and it's a split cost. So for that fee, it's a $175 fee for that class. And we had 151 go through it this past year. We offer a batter's intervention program that consists of 24 weekly classes. This past year, we had 12 individuals that successfully completed the class, and we currently have 14 individuals enrolled in that program. It's I'm so proud of this program. We have 5 facilitators that do it. 2 people are teaching the class each time. It consists of the 24 weeks. It's an hour and a half that they have to come. We can only have 16 offenders in the class at a time. Our facilitators are absolutely fantastic, and they are doing phenomenal work with our domestic violence offenders. We started the Batter's Intervention Program in 2015, and we've had 218 people that have successfully completed that, and we've had less than 10% of those individuals that have reoffended, and gotten the criminal system with a domestic violence charge since then. So our program is very well known through the state. We just had our last recertification in 2023, back in May, I believe it was. But other agencies across the state have came and watched our program. Actually, just this week, we had someone from a neighboring county come and watch the class that Megan Brewer and Brad Roberts were facilitating, and they could not say enough great things about the class and what they were doing. So it was really good feedback from that. Super proud of it. We continue to provide excellent supervision to our clients, and many clients have successfully completed their probation periods. Those numbers change every single day. We have about 1,400 people assigned to probation right now, and about 700 are actively reporting. Of those 1,400, there's some that's either absconded or they're in treatment or in jail in that other part of the population that are not reporting. But our caseloads are pretty high for each individual. Like I said, we've got 7 probation officers and myself. But they're doing excellent work with it. When I came 12 years ago, we had about 1,975 people that would be on probation at a time, and about 1,100 of those would be reporting. So I attest that to we're having a whole lot less returners, repeat offenders, and we also have 3 more staff than we used to years ago. So we're able to really spend more quality time with our offenders and get them the help that they need. And even though those numbers, I think we're busier than we have ever been, because they're much higher needs we've seen in the last few years. The charges and offenses are definitely more severe, especially on our pretrial population of what we do. We're just seeing an upward tick in referrals lately. So We switched to a new software program that's kind of been able to give us some more efficiency. We went to Pronto, so we were able to have a successful migration of all of our data from our previous provider. And this software program has been wonderful. It's able to do so much more, and we were able to input so much more information, so that way if a probation officer's out and someone else has to see that particular offender, then it's much more easier for them to see everything that's going on with that client. We can also, if there's a closure, if a weather closure or any kind of thing, we can send a message to the client from the system, and it'll tell them that our office is closed or anything like that. And we did not have that capability before. So that has been very, very helpful this year. Our goal is just to continue to help our clients, offenders become more productive members of society by continuing to use a firm and fair approach to our supervision. You know, our customer service is wonderful. We're dealing with a tough population. We're dealing with people who, most of them, it's their worst day. They come in, they're embarrassed, they're angry, they're upset, all the things. We get all kinds of things, and it's a testament to our staff, because they are having to adhere to all of the bad day of that person every day, day in and day out. And I applaud my staff. They are absolutely incredible. They're the ones that keep our wheels turning in our office. They wear many, many, many hats, and they do it well. And I've had the staff that I had for quite some time. I have them from 19 years to 6 months, and they're all just, each one of them have special niches, and all bring something great and unique that I can even learn from every single day. So I just wanted to applaud them in this presentation. I appreciate all the support you all have given us, especially we're able to launch that new software this year. That was helpful with you guys, and to be able over the years to increase the salaries. It's been huge in able to keep our employees, and I want you to meet every one of them, because they do amazing work. Our budget trends have really kind of stayed the same, except for the salary increases, and they were much needed and much appreciated. And basically everything else has kind of stayed the same. So I appreciate everything and the time that you've allowed me to have today.
Anyone have any questions for Joni? Joni, I just want to say how much I appreciate you and your staff, and the work you all do with I've had the chance to come over there and watch what's going on, and you for the environment you're working in. Sometimes everyone's just comes in every day and absolutely does an amazing job. So I appreciate you and your staff and everything they've been able to do over there. So
thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Next up, purchasing. Chief Radford.
Mr. Mayor, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you, sir.
Mr. Baldwin, Ms. Barrett. Appreciate this time. Let's see how this thing works here. Boom. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Charlie Radford. I'm the Director of Purchasing, the purchasing agent for Blount County. In the back, I also have my Deputy Purchasing Agent, Jackie Cooper, with me. Sitting here listening for these past few minutes to some of the departments, it really struck me that purchasing affects every one of the departments that you've just listened to, and it affects every department that you probably listened to today. We have a hand in everything that they drive, use to copy, whatever, their contracts, their software purchases, et cetera, et cetera. So we have our hands in everything. This is a brief overview of what we do. We're responsible for purchasing all supplies, materials, commodities, et cetera, for the county and other entities of the county that fall under the umbrella. We're also responsible for all leases and tracking them, writing the contracts. We're responsible for all projects that are done, which had really increased when ARPA funds have started flowing into the county. We also have to review and approve all purchase orders and requisitions before anyone can purchase anything, and make sure that they're in compliance with state and federal laws when we do that. We work diligently to secure the best supplies, equipment, commodities that we can, and secure reasonable pricing on those. And we also manage all surplus property and the mailroom. And this is who we serve: Blount County Central Government, elected officials, the Sheriff's Office, Blount County Highway, the schools, the library, the health department, and we are also, due to ARPA funding, assisting the utility districts, Knox Chapman, South Blount, Tuckaleechee, and City of Friendsville, who are doing multi-million-dollar utility projects. And all those projects are brought to us, and all the contracts and bids and posting of bids and advertising of bids all emanate from our office. Some of our accomplishments the previous year, we process purchase orders and requisitions every single day. We estimate approximately 6,000 by the end of this fiscal year. We write, negotiate, in process. We have 56 contracts right now we're working on, but we also administer approximately 613 active vendor contracts that we have with our vendors. Those have to be reviewed and renewed every year. Some of them are multi-year, but they have to be reviewed every year to make sure we're staying in compliance and make sure the vendor is staying in compliance with the contractor. We've also told the county that we will now begin administering the EFT and ACH program, and the push that we're going away from paper checks, paying vendors that way, to EFT payments. So we're doing that. We're also doing all the fuel cards, and we're in the process of reviewing our fuel contract, searching for someone that can save the county taxpayers some money. And we're about to wrap that up. And we also host training for other agencies. We have a training next month. I think we have 27 other people from outside agencies and cities that will be attending it. And then these are some more of our accomplishments here. We've also started Vendor Day. I don't know if some of you may have been in the courthouse that day, but we restarted Vendor Day this year, where we try to attract new vendors and new businesses to do business with Blount County. Our goals, and our number one primary goal, is to continue to provide exemplary customer service to everyone that we deal with, all the agencies that we serve, all the departments that we serve, and then obviously continue to work within our guidelines, federal and state. I would also like to convert a part-time position that I currently have to a full-time position beginning in the new fiscal year. Our current budget is within spending limits. I received a line graph of it today. I don't know. It appears that our budget is going wild there at the end. I don't know why that is. I think Carrie told me it was due to a large increase for the director of purchasing, which I did not receive, so I don't know where that went. But also there's some other things in there. So my line graph does not look as smooth as the other departments I've just witnessed. But I know I'm 5% underspent, and I think this is the 279th day of the budget year. So, my current budget is in good shape. My additional request, like I said, is to transition to a full-time buyer position from a part-time buyer position that I have now that is not in-house. That person works remotely the majority of their time. And obviously, we are very, very busy every day. What most people don't realize is if we have a project, for instance, a highway department project, we're dealing with the Big Springs Road project and several other of their projects right now. My buyer, when they're getting ready to put a bid together, has to review the documents. Typically, those documents are 200 to 400 pages long. So imagine, your assignment this week is to read a novel by someone who's very boring and very technical. And you have to get it done in order to make sure your contract is right and there's no loopholes. And then it has to be reviewed by our contracts manager to make sure that it's good to go before it can even be put on the street for bids. So We're very busy and we're very involved in the county, and basically we serve every office, every entity within our county government.
That includes the schools, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That includes the schools, highway department. Yes, sir. Schools is one of our biggest customers. They're very busy.
Any questions?
Any questions for me?
For Chief? Nothing? Chief, thank you very much. Thank you for everything your department does. I mean, I know you all got a lot of balls you're juggling and do a great job. And Jackie, thank you for everything you do. I appreciate that. But for no more people than you have, you control a lot of money that this county spends on product. And
Yes, sir. Millions and millions and millions of dollars.
and I appreciate the job y'all do and how concerned you are on every item that goes across your desk. That means a lot, should mean a lot to the people of this county, but it means a lot to the mayor's office. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next up, we got a break here for, it says 15 minutes, but you want to do about 10? We're kind of behind right now. You want about a 10-minute break? Is everybody? That's what's on schedule here. What do y'all want to do? No, I'm fine. What everybody wants to do. Everybody ready? Huh? Okay, we're going to go ahead and go. We're going to go ahead and go. Y'all ready?
We're ready.
All right. Next up, Sheriff's Office.
So thank you all for allowing us to be here. This is, the sheriff and I were talking this morning. This is my 28th budget year, his 36th year. And we're in awe every year of how you all have made this process such a pleasant process. I know we ask for a lot of stuff, but we also get a lot of feedback, and you all are very receptive to hear us and complimentary of the sheriff's office. And we can't do what we do without your support. And we really appreciate, Mayor, what you've done and the leadership in this process and allowing us to be able to come before the committee and the commission and present our budget and the requests that we feel like are needed for the sheriff's office. One of the things, and I've said this every year, and I'm sorry that I repeat it, but we do our own budget process internally, and you'll hear from the functions of what they're requesting. We vet those requests and go through that before we even submit our budget. So I just kind of want to get into my part real quick. This is an organizational chart. I think we are the second largest office or organization in the county as far as personnel and operations, behind the school department. If I'm wrong, let me know that, but I think that's the case. I have a lot of moving parts and a lot of people, a lot of functions, and we do a lot of tasks 24/7, 365 days a year. Kind of go through, this is just a synopsis of all of our different functions or units in our administrative support and services, the things that we perform every day. This is our mission statement. I'm not going to read it. You can look at it, but this is what we publish. We are a CLIA accredited agency, and we strive to do the best for the folks in Blount County, and we have a mission to serve them as well as we possibly can. Some of the updates or changes to our budget, we have some personnel included as well as equipment, and each, like I said, each chief will go through their specific requests, and there's been some increased requests in some travel and vehicles and associated costs to outfit vehicles, ammunition, uniforms, etc. One of the things that we were allowed or fortunate enough through the governor's office last year was to get a grant for our real-time operations center. The sheriff's going to be talking a little bit about that. It's located at 911 right now. The portion of that 911 component is in place, so we'd love for you all to be a part of that, to go down and look at that. It's in the EOC area. There's a video wall and different things set up there. And just one of the things that we wanted to bring to your attention, and we can talk to Brian and Carrie and the mayor about this, but in 25, Deputy McCowan's name, May of 25, will be put on the police memorial wall. And one of the things traditionally that agencies do is they send a number of personnel from their agency to DC during that service, and that's Police Memorial Week. So we just wanted you all to be aware of that, as far as there might be a additional request coming for that. See our budget trend, and we appreciate really the salary increase that you all allowed us to have. We are fully staffed, and for the first time in many, many years since I've been here, and I know the sheriff, we actually have a hiring pool, that we have people waiting to come to be a part of our organization. We actually have, I talked to Chief Clark and Chief Millsaps, and we have folks that are certified officers applying from other areas to our agency. So thank you so much for that trend of salary is really, really helping, and we really appreciate your support in that. All right, next I'd like to introduce Sheriff Barong. He's going to come up and kind of talk about the accomplishments that we've achieved in 24 and anything else he might add. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief. Thank you for allowing me to come before you and talk a little bit about the Sheriff's Office and some of what our accomplishments and goals. I won't forget, I want to echo what Chief French said. The support you all given us last year through the salaries is a game changer. It really is, to have the people come in here. And the number one common thing I heard my employees, I'm not talking about one or two or three, I'm talking about hundreds, life-changing. And it is life-changing, these families that do the job, that protect and keep our community safe. A couple things I'm gonna go over with, and the real-time crime operation, that grant came through. We thought it was kind of a pie in the sky, and we applied for it. We saw the benefits in some other communities like Florida. They've about eliminated, I think it's around Naples, crime with this type of technology. And y'all allowed us to apply. We were able to achieve it. We asked for a lot of money, and another agency asked for a lot more and got it. So it was there available. It's installed. It's a joint operation. And if y'all would like to go down there one day or anytime at 911 Center, we have it down there, and we're getting that up and running, and it'll help, I think, keep their community safe. I already said the salary increases. Some of the other accomplishments, the Justice Center garage roof out of Fund 189. The smartphones, the patrol deputies have smartphones now. I mean, that's mini computers. That's what they're on their person. It helps us, get the information to them quicker, for them to look up information, whether there's wanted or warrants on people, and a number of host of things. But it really streamlines a lot of the operation that we have, and we appreciate that. The jail locks in Fund 112 was a big accomplishment too, and it's continuing. You got a 25-year-old jail, those locks are obsolete, and it's hard to run a jail without adequate locks. That's where you really start at. And so y'all have been very supportive of that. The Drug Task Force building will come online, and Chief Talbot will talk about that in just a little while, but hopefully in about 6 weeks at least, or maybe a little more, a little less. But that is, we've outgrown. When I first came in, we outgrew the second one, sold it, and put the money, and Mayor, you all understand, and been very supportive about the impact narcotics uses and sales has in our community to the quality of life, and we're continuing to attack that with your all support and funding. The support the county gave us, you all, during the McCowan and Eggers incident, thank you. Live in a community is amazing, astonishing that we live in a community that this is this supportive. And I had people from out of area, from Shelby County, the sheriff's office, sitting a driver in for me to kind of keep me in check where I needed to be. We came across by the airport, and he said, never seen anything like it. It's hard not to be emotional. Look at the caring and outpouring of the community members, and to be able to work and do a job for 35 years. What a blessing God gave me. That's all I can say. But the officer safety support, the issues that you gave, I mean, equipment you all have given us through the last number of years. I think started about 5 years ago. Unfortunately, some of that stuff's expiring now, but you all addressed that on the front end, and the training, to have one of 3 sheriff's office training academy in our community. Some things just happen. Some things you can't control, and you saw some of that if you watched the video. But you did see her, how she reacted, how she responded. That is because the training we give them in this community, and that through the sheriff's office. And insurance, thank you all for the kids. That's very humbling and dissatisfying, but I'll quit there. But all I can say is I can talk all night and tell you, the community and you all and this board, all I can say is thank you from the bottom of my heart. The additional goals for 24-25 year, we always ask for additional staff. The community is growing, the issues we're dealing with. Is that yours or mine? No. Oh, okay. Is growing, the demands, things are changed. The issues we're reacting to are different issues. So we're here again, and you'll hear some staff requests there. But I think you see what you give us, we put in use to make this a better place to live. The maintenance of our facility, continued with jail lock replacement, to continue with what we started last year. Grow our inmate programming and assist reentry programs. That's where I think we need to start. I know the mayor has been, and you all have been on board. We looked at the transitional facility, secure the land, and our population has gone down, that we can put that on at least hold maybe for a little while, but we still need to look at the programming aspect of it. You get these people and you keep them for 6 months, year, 2 years, whatever it may be, and you put them back, well, you're going to have the same person going back that came in, but to give them a skill set, whether it be how to find a job, the application, or a number of issues, and this, we would like to think that's a very beneficial and worth the investment that any community can have, and enhance our officer training and safety. We talked about that, and we'll continue to ask for that, and you all have always provided that. I greatly appreciate that. Provide citizens with a safe place to work, live, and play. Safety in our schools. Luckily, the governor's office takes that burden, and we were able to take some of that money and add to our raises last year. That's all I have, other than, again, say thank you, and any questions you all might have of me.
Anyone have any questions for the sheriff?
If you do, I'll be here, and if anything obviously comes up, but thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Good afternoon. I'm Deputy Chief Chris Cantrell. Appreciate the opportunity to come and present our budget requests. A couple of things I want to notate. First is being able to use some grant funds that we had come available to replace some mattresses, jumpsuits for the inmates, some new CERT equipment. CERT is our Corrections Emergency Response Team. Anytime we have a large shakedown in the jail, or if we get called to another jail, a couple times a year we'll get a request from another county wanting us to come back and help assist them in doing a shakedown at their jail, or they may have just a rowdy section and they need a few extra bodies to go in and help get control again. And now we've got some of the best equipment around for that we were able to purchase with that grant. I am currently fully staffed in the jail. The last time that happened was for about 3 hours before somebody left. But again, as the sheriff and Chief French said, the salary increases really has been a game changer. Our current medical contract expires November of this year, and we're working with purchasing now to rebid the inmate medical services. We hope to have that process completed on timeline by September is where we're at with that. One of the requests that I'm asking for this year is the reentry positions for a director of our reentry programs, an instructor, and then a clerk. We can get so much accomplished if we have those 3 positions with our reentry. Currently we have, just based on space, I've got a gentleman who is teaching some classes. He is a line staff position. Line staff comes first in his job. And unfortunately, there's times we have to pull him from being able to teach his classes to have enough people to adequately and safely and efficiently run the jail. He does money essentials class, work essentials class, MRT, which is moral recognition therapy, helps inmates learn how to make better decisions. There's an application process for all those programs. He is certified to teach all those programs, did that on his own. We would like to be able to further that, and I think having those 3 positions would help. The clerk can do a lot of tracking. The last I heard, our recidivism rate on inmates who had been through some of our classes that we've been doing for the last year and a half, just kind of scratching the surface with it, is in the low 20%. So it is helping. Moving on to court services, I'm requesting 2 court services deputies to help with the number of civil papers that we have, and to have them cross-trained to be court officers as well. This past week we had a jury trial, we had jurors coming in, we still had criminal dockets going on, we still had civil dockets going on. They're out of the 4 process servers I have that were working. The process servers and the 3 supervisors in court services were all either working in a courtroom or in the back getting inmates ready for court. So these positions would help to be able to supplement with court security or with civil process, because those civil papers, they never end. We get in upwards of 15,000 civil documents in a year that require personal service. The jail lock program, very blessed and fortunate that you all have funded the sections that we have in progress. Right now, we're able to get we've got 3 sections that are max housing, and that's based off inmates' classification or their discipline. And right now, we've got 1 section done. Another section is scheduled to be started next week that the money is allocated for. And then we've got our smaller max section that's slated to be started, and that request is $127,000. That will get that 1 section plus the other sections that are back in CPOD. You want me to talk about that one? The 2555 retirement benefit for corrections officers. I know you all are familiar with the 2555 retirement for post. This would allow corrections officers the same benefit with 25 years of service and minimum age of 55. They can retire with the bridge program, the bridge that pays up to 62 years of age. Currently have, if this were to go in effect July 1, I have 5 who would qualify to be able to go out on the 2555. I projected for the next 3 to 5 years, there would be an additional 11 people who would hit eligibility in the next 3 to 5 years to be able to take advantage of the bridge retirement. There's also a request to replace the control board in medical. It is the original control board to the jail. We've got a couple of the speakers that don't work. They control the inmates housed in medical communicate with the deputy working the medical station by speaker. We've got a couple of the speakers that don't work in the jail or in medical, so they're not able to. The deputy's not able to communicate with them. This replacement would take care of that. as well. So it's a little bit of a safety issue. And I believe that is all I have. Real quick on the, when I'll talk about the reentry again, we run about 5 to 7 inmates per each of those classes, the MRT, the work essentials, money essentials. That's just strictly based on the availability of the instructor. And we have anywhere from 20 to 25 who apply each time that a class comes open. And these classes will move with an inmate if he or she is transferred out to prison. So it will go with them. It's the same classes that they're teaching in the prison. So we're trying to follow what they're doing as well.
Any questions for? Any questions?
Thank you.
Chris. Jeff, you want to come on up?
Good afternoon. I'm Deputy Chief Jeff Clark. I'm Deputy Chief over Operations at the Sheriff's Office. And again, let me echo just what had been said already before with the support that you gave last year with our salary increase. We greatly appreciate that. That has greatly helped us to be able to retain well-trained people that we have. So again, I thank you all very much for your support for that. Some noteworthy things that I want to talk about today. We were able to use grant funding to be able to cover our mental health transports. And then that's done with AMR. We contract with them to be able to do that. We've also been able to use grant funding to purchase some new senior outreach vehicles, which was very much well needed. You may have seen those out in the community. That's the program that we have, that we have volunteers to be able to go out and check on shut-ins and people who don't have family in the area and those kinds of things. So greatly needed in regards to that. We begin an in-house canine training, which is a savings to us on the canines. So basically, before we were having to send someone up to Pennsylvania, that's the kennels that we use to purchase our canines and stuff at. It's about $18,000. We're able to cut that in half just to be able to purchase the dogs and be able to use Sergeant Alan Russell, who is one of our canine trainers that we have, and that's a big cost savings to us. And then, as has been echoed before, for the first time in a long time, we're fully staffed in patrol. It's been a long time since we've been fully staffed in patrol. So, some additional requests that we have, and this has been one of the things that I've requested for the past 5 years since I've been coming to Budget Committee since promoted. Again, we're asking for 5 patrol deputies to be able to supplement. In years past, we haven't been fully staffed, but we're fully staffed now. This year alone, we had a 2,400 increase in our calls for service that we had this year, almost 74,000. It was 73,839 calls for service that we had this year, which is up 2,400 from last year. So also, we're pushing 142,000 people in Blount County right now. I think the last count was 141 and some change, and that was in July of 2023. So correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the last stat that I had. So definitely, with an increase in population, we're going to have an increase in calls for service, just being able to provide the service that we provide for the citizens of Blount County. And we want to maintain that service that we've provided. As the sheriff said, this is his 36th budget year. And so over those 36 years, or the 36th year to come, we want to provide that same amount of service. And I think the citizens of Blount County have become accustomed to a service that we provide that I would put up against any agency in the state of Tennessee right now. And so I might have some arguments on that for some agencies, but I think we do a pretty good job with what we have. But most definitely, that increase, as you see, we would like to have a total of 15 over a 3-year period to be able to put those on each shift. We divided our shifts and did some changing around and stuff due to some training and things and stuff like that. Those numbers will definitely help increase that, to be able to give people some time off. You factor in people going to schools, and you factor in family issues and sick time and those kinds of things. So that's the reason for us asking for the increase in the deputies for this additional request. Another additional request that we have is from the traffic unit, the Bosch cables and readers. Typically, that's not as expensive as what it usually is. Every 3 years, we have to update the cables, but this year we have to update the reader due to electric vehicles and things that we're seeing. And so this Bosch cables and readers, it's basically like a black box in an airplane. So when something happens, we can go in and plug the cables and stuff in and do a download, a physical download of the vehicle at that particular time of the crash and things to be able to help in situations where there's fatalities or major injuries and things like that. 2 canines at $20,000, which, you know, $10,000 a piece for the dogs if we train in-house. The canines that we have currently, we've had put one down and we had another one we had to amputate a leg on. So medically wise, just like human beings, we run into that as well too. Typically the longevity of a dog would be roughly around eight years. It depends on, you know, the dog and things, but typically get about 8 years out of the dog. When we purchased canines the last time, we purchased several together. We recently were able to purchase a new bomb dog, and we had to purchase a new patrol dog. New patrol dog was because we had to put one down because of cancer. The bomb dog has aged out, so we just purchased those. That goes back to talking about the in-house training that we're doing right now. And we were fortunate enough to be able to acquire 2 bloodhounds at no cost to the county. So that was, there's a lady in Florida who actually raises bloodhounds and donates to agencies and things and stuff like that. So we were able to get one of those, and we already had one that was donated that Sergeant Russell had, who is world renowned with his bloodhound training and things and that kind of stuff. So, and then a new video system for the roll call room. We were able to update some of the other areas with grant funding in the past 2 years. We weren't able to do roll call at that particular time. So we're asking to be able to do that. This would be a video screen similar to what we're looking at right here. But it would be utilized in the roll call room, which I think many of y'all have been in. That's where we do our Citizens Academy and things. That's where we have presentations when the mayor comes over, if we have something special going on to present awards and things like that. That would go a long ways as well too. And that would help with the training to be able to put videos up on there. Currently, you know, we opened the Justice Center in 1999. We've had 2 PowerPoint projectors in there. We're on the second one, and it's kind of wore out its welcome. To be honest with you, it is outdated and well aged. So that's the request right there in regards to that. Does anybody have any questions for me at this particular time?
Anybody got any questions for Jeff? Jeff, thank you very much.
Again, thank you all very much. At this time, Deputy Chief Ron Talbot.
Thank you for allowing me to be here today and take part in this presentation. If I could ask permission for Captain Garner to come forward and hand out 2 handouts to each of you. I think I was late on my presentation with a lot of stuff going on, and it's just, it'll make it easier to follow. First on my presentation is the status of the new Drug Task Force office. Obviously, that's been underway for approximately, well, as far as the whole process, for a couple of years now, and we're just very blessed that our commission and each of you have all been on board with us making progress with that project, and I've said it numerous times in all kinds of settings that this county is truly blessed to have a mayor that leads us, that has such a background as a first responder and knows the needs firsthand of what we deal with, and when we ask for it, he's got firsthand knowledge of why. So that has made that process and that project so much more manageable. As far as the progress that we've made on the task force is, we're still looking at a projected date of occupancy of mid to late April. All of that is contingent on the contractor is on point as far as schedule, but a lot of the other contingency is phones and technology and furniture and that type of thing. I think the last date of some of the furniture installs April 29th. So we're hoping to actually be moving into it the first week of May. So just some of the progress that we've made over the years, and I'll try to be quick on this, but when I first got assigned to narcotics in 1995, we were renting about 1,100 square foot office space for $900 a month. And in 2006, we made our first purchase or constructed our own office instead of renting all these years. And that footprint was 3,500 square foot. And here we are in 2024 and be moving into the new office, which is just shy of 11,000 square foot. Why that's important to Blount County is it gives the square footage and the footprint for all of the other agencies that you've heard me speak in the past to come and work with us and along by our side and bring their investigative abilities and manpower and technology to use in Blount County at no cost. We're just giving them a place to work, and a great example of that was the manhunt that we were on for 5 days of Kenny Dehart. And when we relocated to the task force, we had members of pretty much every law enforcement agency imaginable, from Homeland Security to FBI to the Marshals to you name it, that were using their technology to help us locate him. And once you isolate that much technology into one place, it becomes a powerhouse, as you could imagine. So that's the progress we've made on the Drug Task Force Office, and again, we're nearing the end. We're very excited about that. The handouts that I gave you for investigations, the one thing that we're asking for this year is another investigator. The investigator that we want for this upcoming year to add, you've heard me talk in years past about DCS referrals and the number of child abuse cases. And I just felt like that this graph that I gave you for DCS referrals illustrates the increase over the years, where this body has recommended an additional investigator. It shows the increase that we've had at least over the last 5 years. So when we added our last investigator, which was our second child abuse investigator, we predicted that those numbers were going to exceed 300 cases per year, which we like to try to keep our investigators at about 135 to 140 cases a year. Well, instead of exceeding 300, they went to 454, and then in 2022 they went to 441, and then last year we done 498 cases. But what I specifically want this investigator to do is I want this investigator to not only take those additional child abuse cases, but I want this investigator to also take care of the APS referrals, which the second page of the handout illustrates the APS referrals that we've been working since 2019. You'll see in 2023, we worked an additional 153 of those cases. While that's important, our supervisors have always absorbed these numbers. And so we may have a sergeant or a lieutenant going out and doing the APS referrals just because we just never had a specific investigator to be able to work those cases. And they will still be working some of those, but this new investigator will basically be taking on about 200 cases a year between APS referrals and the additional child abuse investigations that we've seen climb. I'll end my presentation with the third piece of paper that I handed out, just because I felt that it was very noteworthy. I feel like from the narcotics standpoint, we as a community, or we as a sheriff's office and drug task force, I feel that each year we work proactively and reactively enough to have a goal to reduce the number of overdose deaths and overdose calls that we have throughout the county. And we've done that. We've achieved that over the last 2 years. We see a downward trend of our aggressive enforcement, and that's how we reduce those numbers. But I'll be honest with you, standing before you today, I don't know how we reduce the numbers of DCS referrals. I don't know how we reduce the numbers of child abuse and sex abuse and that type thing. I don't know what more we can do other than working closely as we do with the Children's Advocacy Center having investigators specifically assigned under that one roof, having SROs in the schools, and developing those relationships with the children and getting them to open up to us and talk. I don't know how we make the numbers go down. We seem to be doing everything right proactively and reactively, and that's why I included this last photo. This is I guess it was an idea of a teacher, and my preacher brought it up in service a couple of Sundays ago. It's a mirror in a bathroom of a high school here in Blount County, and the teacher come up with the idea to have a prayer mirror. And these Post-it notes are prayers that were posted on this mirror in the school just in one day's time. So again, as I talk about, I don't know how to reduce these numbers, and we're trying to investigate all these additional cases. I think this picture of this mirror, this prayer mirror, illustrates the trouble that our kids are going through. The society that we live in today, the things that they're exposed to, whether it's domestic violence at home or whether it's predators on the internet or social media. And all I know to do is to continue to work these cases, but to work on the best of our ability and have the people that are capable of dedicating the time to infiltrate the circles of these predators. We worked a case just here recently last week with a homeless person and a 14-year-old, 38 years old and a 14-year-old. And I just don't know how you reduce that number or reverse what our children are having to deal with in this day and time. So I'm asking for one investigator this year to handle those type cases.
Chief, does anyone have a question for Chief Talbot? Anything? Chief, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate it.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Real quick before we get started, I just want to make mention of someone that is a partner with us that basically puts this presentation together and keeps us in line and keeps us updated with budget trends and stuff. And she's not mentioned in this presentation, but I would like to thank Angelie very much for everything that she does for our agency and for the county.
Actually, would you please stand up and let us...
And also, she had a birthday this week, so I think you guys should wish her a happy birthday.
That's right.
Thank you, Budget Committee, for having us here today. And it's always a good time to see you guys in this environment and as we beg and plead for things in the upcoming budget. I can't stress enough of what we do internally, as Chief French had mentioned, to go through all these lists of wants, several wants that our agency has, but we've consolidated those into needs. And I know I heard Judge Brewer mention it earlier, and I'd like to echo what he said is, we're not going to come and ask you for two when we only need one. We're going to come and ask you for one. And I think that is definitely what we are here today trying to accomplish with you guys. Some of the noteworthy items that I wanted to mention is the Axon contract. We have been exploring some options with that. We're operating over 3 contracts right now. You guys gave us a 5-year contract for body cam and in-car cam, which I think you've seen proof of how valuable that is in our society and with our officers today, just over the incident that's happened in the last 6 weeks. So it's very important. We think that we need to continue that and have that type of technology on our deputies at all times. With that same company comes the tasers that we currently have. It's just like most of technology, those tasers seem to, every 5 or 6 years, a latest, greatest product comes up, right? But we currently have the Taser 7s. The tasers that we have, we pass down to the Corrections Division, which are X26s. Patrol has a Taser 7. Last year, the Taser has come out with the Taser 10, That is the latest, greatest, and we've seen the benefits and through demos and such that it would be an enhancement for our patrol deputies to have that. And then we would take the TASER 7s that we currently have, pass them down to the corrections, and then take the X26s and have a trade-in with Axon. So this contract is not, the camera contract is not up until next January, but we just want to get this in your hands because we do have an opportunity at this time to consolidate all those contracts into one and then start with a new, fresh 5-year plan. So there's going to be other discussions about that in the near future that we'd love to talk to you all about to see if that's even a possibility. Also, TASER is coming in to do a demonstration on April the 9th. That's going to be at our training facility. We plan on sending you guys some invitations to come down to where you guys can ask questions and kind of see the technology and everything that is out there. EMRs, wow. It's been a extremely successful program in Blount County that started with the mayor and the sheriff. We're asking for 10 more of those. We currently have 62. Don't know where that magic number is, but I think we are slowly approaching that in the near future. Probably close to 100 is what we would like to get to across all of our functions that we have. So we're just continuing to ask for the 10 each year to do that. We had, for a couple of numbers, we had over 1,800 calls that they responded to and actually provided some sort of medical assistance on. There's so many success stories that I could sit up here and tell you, but one of those was not even happening in our jurisdiction, but because of the training this young lady had, she was able to notice his symptoms, to once he went unconscious, provide the appropriate amount of CPR, and ultimately saved this gentleman's life. And is incredible that we have law enforcement officers that are able to recognize and be able to do that here, along with doing law enforcement work. With that program, when we first started, we gave AEDs to all the AMR officers or EMR officers. Those are obviously reaching end of life cycle, and we either need to replace the battery or replace the whole unit. So that's one of those items that are listed up. I think there is some other alternatives that we are looking at as a county to maybe lease or to purchase those county-wide. So I hope that we're included in those discussions as it moves further. The Townsend radio site, which was completed in about 2011, the battery backup basically before the generator kicks on and keeps the power up and going is to the end of life. We've actually, during the storms last year, the Townsend site was down for a bit. It not only affects our radio system, but to communicate with Townsend, but Townsend Police Department, Townsend Fire, and all those agencies are on that side as well. So we're just looking to replace that with the latest UPS, and it's a one-time purchase, and hopefully will get us several years down the road. The rifles that are listed, we come to the committee back in 2016 for these, and we actually purchased those. We're reaching the end of life on those rifles for our SWAT team. They train a lot. They shoot a lot, as they should, to be proficient in the marksmanship that they need. But doing that, it deteriorates those rifles after a matter of time, and we're at the end of life where we're starting to have malfunctions, and the marksmanship starts to grow because the barrels basically wear out, and it's time for new ones. So that is that request, and be happy to talk about those as well further. The accountability device. So give you an example. The top of the world, we had a missing child 2 years ago out in the area where there's no cell phone coverage, very limited radio coverage in a lot of places. So these devices would be able to use on our B-Sort team and on our tactical team, or even on a simple search team that basically they would clip on and wear. The command can monitor and see where those folks are at all time, even when we don't have cell phone signal, and it would be able to work anywhere that they may go. Like our dive team spent time in Sumner County looking for the missing autistic mail that's missing out there, and we could deploy that with them to basically keep track of all the different search teams that we have. The speaker system, we have also asked for this in the past, but it's basically just an amplified military grade speaker system that we can attach on any sort of vehicle. The train derailment comes to mind that would come in really handy when we're going through neighborhoods in certain areas, that be able to broadcast and to get people to evacuate and get people's attention. It's a very, like I said, it's military grade, so it's very specific on how the voice works. You know, we all have PAs on our vehicles as law enforcement, but it just is not able to penetrate, you know, most cars that are sealed today anymore. It's hard to hear what's behind you. So basically this just gives you an amplified single PA that's portable and we could put in multiple places. The pepper ball gun is basically just less lethal. Our corrections function already has some of these as well. We would utilize their instructors in training to be proficient, but it's just to provide our officers with another avenue as a less lethal item to use on certain situations. And that is basically part of the end of our presentation, and all of us can entertain any questions that you guys may have or need clarification on.
Anyone have any questions for Chief? Seeing none. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Sheriff, we appreciate you all being here in the presentation. Yes, sir. This time we'll continue the budget workshop, and next up is Highway Department. Just push that, there you go.
Good evening. Hello, Ms. Hannum. All right, we'll get started. Good afternoon. I'm Jeff Hedrick. Like to introduce the Brain Trust, Ms. Karen Ray, Jenny Montgomery, and Thomas Lloyd. They try to prop me up, make us look good. Chico Messer's assistant would have been here. He had a death in the family, a funeral to travel to, so that's why he's not here. I guess I'm controlling this. What we do, maintaining, for round numbers, around 1,400 miles, resurface roads, that's our paving, pothole repair, maintain striping, signage, guardrail. The maintaining striping is something with the truck that you all afforded us to do. I can't remember 2 or 3 years ago of saying if we had that, we'd stripe roads that's never seen paint, and that's actually what's happening. But we're also maintaining that. Mowing right-of-ways, you guys know what that consists of. Both sides of the road 4 times a year, and consider the 1,400 miles. So that math is not hard to do. Tree removal, it has gone really good now. Once again, y'all have afforded us brush trucks. We have 2 now, and so being proactive in these storms has really cut down overtime and being out all night in the middle of the night. That's part of the storm cleanup. Maintain ditches in the right-of-way. A lot of that's pulling the ditches to make sure the water stays in the ditches. Replace drainage tiles with all the paving we're doing to protect the taxpayers' money. We're replacing all the tile before we pave. Bridges, obviously you've looked at this packet, and we'll look at it again here in a minute. Repair and replacing. Highway equipment, vehicles, roadside repairs, shop permits, driveway tie-ins to county roads, that wasn't done 8 years ago, and people were running their concrete and driveways out into the asphalt, and then the snow plows that catch them. Not good. So we're doing that. Treat roads during winter events. We'll talk about that a little more. Collect recyclables for general public. Operate CDL training program, which we have in-house with our people administratively. And the course is also at the Operations Center. Something that's pretty much unheard of across the state. Accomplishments, it's hard to believe that we got in about 80 miles. 8 years ago, they were doing about 7 or 8. And obviously with that kind of total mileage, you're going backwards. So we were proud of that, 80 miles. Striped 100, proud of that as well. And there, as it says, roads that never had paint. Slips, with highway funds, slips is like the face of a mountain. If you're on Old Wallen Highway and that front of that face slides off in the road, that's a slip. And so we work a lot with a company that does what's called soil nails, and we go get it cleaned up and then go in and apply the soil nails in a slurry of concrete to hopefully not have that slip again. It's the nature of where we live. Improve safety, bringing up guardrails to state and federal engineering codes, accident-prone areas. We worked hard to identify those areas that just really need guardrail. Very expensive. Wasn't recouping when citizens hit the guardrail and tore it up. There's a mechanism in place to turn it in and get that money back off their insurance if they have it. And so we've worked hard at getting that money back, and that's made a huge difference. Going to the bridge, what we talked about, completed, Big Springs, Hilton, Clover Hill, Salem, Carrs Creek, Bethlehem Church, Tuckaleechee Bridges, that came out of highway funds. Transition over a little bit there, I guess, into recycling. 269,000 pounds of cardboard, 357,000 pounds of single stream. Glass averaging over 350 cars a day. We just finalized the paperwork yesterday to start the tire crumb process. And I'll let you all know those roads that's going down on, along with other commissioners that want to monitor that. That's actually come to fruition fairly quick. Collected 2.9 million pounds of vegetation from right-of-way and disposed in the air curtain. Otherwise, that would have went to the landfill or went to a processing company that charges about $75, $80 a truckload. And so with our air curtain, and we just passed our opacity test once again for the year. So that air curtain, I don't know what price tag you put on. It saved the citizens or prolonged the life of the landfill. Along with that, this past year, Blount County, we got the Government Recycler of the Year award, which is pretty special, no longer than Blount County's been involved. Drone unit, over 100 flight hours. It's just been amazing what it's done to help pre and post, what it's done to stop possible litigation of flooding, the things it's revealed and closed depressions and so on. So that program has been very good. Go back talking about the winter storm, managed 24 winter storm event in-house with no additional funding requests for materials or employee overtime. And what I found across the state, by and large, counties our size are going back to this body and asking somewhere between $500,000 to $2 million I know close touching us, one is, it's a $2 million price tag. And we've tried to be fiscally responsible, and we burn up a ton of material in overtime, but I'm not going to ask you for anything on that. Once again, helping with, you know, we really got in a pinch during that storm, being out of material. And the new salt facility wasn't ready. Had it been, we probably wouldn't have been on the phone with Kansas City nonstop, begging and pleading to let us pick up salt. And so it's impressive. If you hadn't seen it, please come out to the Ops Center. It's got the county seal. It'll hold the proper amount going forward. We got the TDOT E-Trims grant, $560,000. That's going to go toward a lot of things: signage, caution lights coming off of mountains, fog advisories, maybe up in Happy Valley or towns and Wallen areas. And there's no match on that one. That 560's straight to the county. Once again, going back to the CDL program, we've already got 6 employees now with their CDL. And again, as I talk to people across the state, they couldn't do a whole lot in the snow because they didn't have people who could drive. They didn't have CDL license. So this program, getting it, as painful as it's been, has been very vital to Blount County. Goals, continue to make travel safer, integrity of the roads and bridges, response time for all emergency storms and situations, really work close with Chief Long and Sheriff Barone and the 911 center. We sit in our place, and you can see on the screen what they're doing. They sit at their place, they know what we're doing. Something's corrected on our end, it gets posted and they see it. Or if they have something additional, we see it. Wonderful relationship. We've supplied them this past year, and thank you for letting us get 10 additional saws. And we keep them service maintenance, repaired, and those 10 saws go out in the field in storm events with officers. If it's a small tree, they cut it, kick it over out of the way, we go to the big stuff. So that's been a good thing. Proactive tree removal, we finally got to the point, if it looks like it's going to be a problem, we take it down. Where we wasn't in that situation, we was just in cleanup mode, it seemed like. Back to paving again, I think we can pull off somewhere around the 95 to 100 miles, and that's state aid and in-house appropriated funds, which is really special if we could pull that off. And right now you've afforded us 5 triaxles over the last 8 years, and thank you. And if we have 6, that's imperative to paving and a good paving project. But that's the only way you can pull off this kind of mileage. You saw all the bridges and the things we've done. Wildwoods and Dire Need, Middle Settlements Bridge, Dire Need, and we're going to tackle those. And it's not pleasant, okay? When you tackle these bridges and they're a complete closure, but there is situations that just everybody don't understand, of blue line streams or depressions or things of that nature. And so, like, for instance, Big Springs Bridge, we identified before we started with the state, 2 blue line streams were converging. One's bad enough, 2 is a killer. We got past it. It's almost done. And there'll be some special things going forward, hopefully tagged to that bridge, and we're going to pave that whole road from 321 all the way over, stripe it, signage, and some things going forward that I think you'll be proud of. You know, flooding issues in several areas across the county, you know, we've got them. We're trying to work through those. We're trying to get the money for the grant we got for Caldwell and that flooding. And a lot of them we're addressing in-house, but you got to have grant help there. Maintain recycling program to exceed the citizens' expectations. Yeah, I think they're pretty high with everything that you see out there that you can come get rid of fairly easily, streamlined. You know, you talk magnitude 350, 400 cars. Levi Street's very busy these days. So, and that's a good thing. It's good for the community, good for the landfill. FY 24-25 additional requests, promotions within the department. Unfortunately, we've had a few people that's, one of them's been there 45 years. The other one's probably 25. And given, they had no intentions of retiring, but given family situations, and I respect that they need to go take care of family. So the goal is that some of these younger people we brought in and kind of groomed, we feel like 2 or 3 of them may have that ability. Now they're going to perform to the extent of those 45-year guys, not initially, but someday. And so that's what that caption is for, is we got some moving around internally. We hope we can handle it that way. Additional request, 1.215, obviously that's, you know, it goes along with the asphalt, the oil, aggregate, pipe, everything's just gone up, but this helps us get that 100 miles, helps us achieve that. Of course, there's the extra money, the 225. And so if you look at the magnitude of the salt bin now and that little bitty thing sitting over near my office, it's going to take more salt and calcium, right, to fill those. So be ready for next year. Knock on wood, I think we're maybe out of this season. But that's that additional money you see there. 7,000, you know, that's going to fall in recycle. And once again, diesel, labor, trucks, and so Waste Connections, it's twofold. They've gone up a little bit, but picking up our containers has greatly gone up. I mean, they're lipping full by the middle of the week. And so that's kind of, that 7,000 is predicated off those two things. I will say this going forward, just kind of plant the seed. Our only obligation at this point with Waste Connection is them coming and emptying the containers and putting them back. We own the containers, we own the compactors, everything. They take it to West Rock. West Rock has agreed, you know, going forward at some point, if we have our truck and chassis of roll-off, we'll take those containers ourselves to West Rock. We already have the drivers, don't have to increase an employee. So that savings annually to cut Waste Connection out of that would probably be in the range of $50,000 to $55,000 a year. So you can imagine in 36 months or less, you paid for a cab and chassis because you already got the person on payroll. And that's what that is. Capital planning, yeah, you skipped it for me. The trench roller, you can take that off there. The trench compactor, mini excavator. Don't know how much you want me to share with you on that. I think they're fairly self-explanatory when you look at the ass. Of course, here they are, trench roller. fast forward, trench compactor, you can skip it, Mini X. The situation there is many rural roads, as you all know, can be narrow, can be a lot of canopy, and you can't hardly work with a big excavator, which you've afforded us to have, and you don't have the room with rubber tire backhoes, which you've afforded us to have. And so when you sit and work in jobs of something's happened on the road, you're replacing a cross train, this Mini X affords you the ability to sit in one spot with a bucket and thumb right behind the truck and work in a confined space. And that's why they call it a Mini X. It's just a smaller version of the big one. Safety basket. I don't know if you've seen, I'm sure y'all have seen them on the interstate. They're behind trucks and they have the barrels and the cones, and you got one man inside that basket or cage setting those cones and barrels out. And you could have a man on the other side, and it works. OSHA, a lot of people suggest it and look at it, and as much striping as we're doing now, it's very much needed for safety. Walk behind paint striper, I think you've probably seen the one we inherited. It wasn't properly maintenance and kept clean. It's 20 years old. It doesn't do a good job. And so we're doing a lot of stuff for that walk behind. We've got stuff that we need to do at Gay's place over at the library. We got others across town that's county-owned stuff that the big truck can't do. So you need that. And of course, that's the applicable trailer that it goes on. Fold down ramp, floats, those, we've got 2 or 3, but with what we've been afforded to have with the rubber tire backhoes and skid steer, and you're traveling all ends of the county, the 1,400 miles of road, we're about 1 fold down short. And that's what that is. Skid steer, we got one that you afford us to have it spec'd properly, and it's awesome. But every crew wants it daily. And we have the different attachments to where you could run to, but we got one. So you can ride into the widen roads, pick up brush, meal. There's all kinds of things you can do with it, but it's hard to spread it out. This is the same piece of equipment that you afforded us to have probably 5 years ago, and it's been amazing. It's you can patch potholes with hot mix. It keeps this hot, just like you get it from the plant, and it'll stay in the hole. Whereas if you put cold mix 2 hours later, it's not there. But once again, you got one. You got 2. You can have one on each end of the county working at the same time, and not have so much windshield time coming back and forth getting material. Touched on the triaxle. That's just self-explanatory. That's just if you got a good paving process, given the mileage that we have and what we're trying to do, that puts us at about the right number with triaxles. Of course, out in the field in the shop, Sean and those guys in the shop are just lights out of keeping us going. Even though if you got new stuff, you still have breakdowns, still hoses break, blades need to be sharpened. And that's just a means of vectoring that truck wherever in the county, sharpen them blades, go back to work, fixing a hose, hydraulics on it, go back to work. That's an effort of doing that. And I'll say it's been tough the last 3 or 4 years to get cabs and chassis, get anything. And our suppliers are now starting to get parts, materials, and labor, and are starting to be able to get these trucks and things rolled out. And it wasn't their fault. They were just hamstrung. They didn't have anything to build it with. The golf carts, real quick, you could talk about this for a good while, and I don't want to do that. If you saw what was going on daily at the Operations Center with kids in classrooms, Leadership Blunt, ORNL, the county out of West Virginia came out and spent 2 days this past week of trying to figure out what Blount County's put together at that Operations Center. But and to tag along with that, you know, we've had barbecue cook-offs with John and agriculture, plant days, over 500 people. So we fill that top area, and we've moved some fences around, and that's going to help some. But that overflow has got to park down front, and you got people, elderly, or like Leadership Blunt. We had a lady that had broke her ankle and had the boot on, and we put her on a golf cart. That one little golf cart and the magnitude of the people that's coming to that place and want to continue to come, just won't handle it. Engineering technology, we just continue, and with Chico and the new hire engineer, they're just taking all this to a whole nother level of mapping, and someday when people roll in, they're going to know where a pipe is. They're going to have lat long of where the pipe is, time frames of the road, you know, the LIDAR of grades and past history, and this is just to kind of enhance that program and make it one step better. The sign precision material cutter that go in the sign shop, they've taken that to another level. The equipment you allowed us to have last year is amazing. You know, the federal guidelines of reflectivity, you know, who's a reflectivity Nazi for the state? I don't know. I guess there's somebody out there. But I would say at this point, we are in about 92% compliant across the state. And oh, by the way, as we do that, every sign gets a county seal on it to kind of where people really understand, you know, kind of helps them where we're at, because, you know, there's a section of Old Niles Ferry I catch a lot of heat over. It's on the city side behind Waggles and things down through there. Till you get to our side, it says, "Welcome to Blount County." But I've heard people say that helps us understand or identify who do we call and chew on. So that's kind of where that's at. Another sheet you want to look at there, Brian? Okay, I didn't know if on the budget that graph you had, do we look at that? Or have they already looked at it? You gonna put that up or not?
Do you mean the fund balance and is that what you're?
What, the line graph?
Yeah, if you give me a minute, I could get back to it. You want me to pull it up?
If you can, I just wanted to, I mean, my understanding is you already clarified this morning that an elevated line.
What the committee saw earlier this morning was the graph of your cash on hand and fund balance going, you know, it stair-stepped up to 10 million and then it stair-stepped back down to 4. And then they saw your operational line go from about 5 million up to about 11 million because that $6 million in cash was spent on the paving and the bridges.
I just wanted to make sure everybody was clear on that, yeah, that looks crazy. Here you go straight up. Everything else, if you look at it, is by and large, through all the things we've been through, static. All the equipment, people, maneuvering, paid for. little bit in salary, and I think that was due to MAG. Would that be accurate? But that one, and I can assure you, that large spike, every penny went to asphalt and bridges. That accurate? Okay.
Is there any questions? Anybody have any questions for the superintendent? Any questions? Okay. So we want to move on into planning and development?
Everybody good? Okay. Okay. Real quick, what we do, planning, land use development review, transportation planning, long-range planning, staff support. Our people work hard to get information to the Planning Commission. We still do contract services with Friendsville and Rockford. The magnitude of their workload is not a whole lot. Mayor Pugh and Louisville decided that they would do theirs, I guess, with the development district. Yeah. So, and that was much welcome, quite frankly, because our folks' workload is, we got enough to do on our own without everybody else. Environmental health, septic system, potable water, that's your fill lines and things, and designing them. Stormwater, big animal. Sedimentation, erosion control, grading permits, of course, zoning and enforcement of it, and all the work the staff does to get prudent information to that board. Codes, plan review, inspections, enforcement, code compliance. And of course, those numbers there, obviously, speak for themselves. Kind of flashed down to building codes completed. 339 stormwater inspections during that same time. So, and I guess if we flash back, it's an effort of what we talked about we had one person in stormwater, and there's no way in the world one person can manage that. And some epiphany or something, I don't know what it was, to take these codes people and get them to buy into, they're already in the field. We've got them in vehicles already all over the county in zones. Help us do stormwater. And they have bought into that and have made an amazing difference for Blount County with TDEC and Miss Valerie. It's been good, and Jeff Chapman and his folks are impeccable people first and foremost, but they do a good job and are very well respected in the community. Environmental health design, 450 new layouts, 220 repairs, 475 final inspections, and on average processed 100 septic records requests per month. And I used to walk by Karen's office, and she's got a thing on the front door, and it would literally be stacked full. That's how bad it was. But hey, these realtors wanting paperwork, they're wanting to do closings, right? But they got to have that septic letter. If there is one, if it's in place properly, they can't close. That's the magnitude of that. And you might see a sheet or two now, but not hardly at all. And we'll go to another screen, and I think it'll address accomplishments. That first one, the inspection, in many cases, we are now able to accommodate next day requests. It's typically that day or the next day. Now, I can tell you, 8 years ago, it was 8 and 9 weeks. It was bad. And we knew it, and we had to fix it. And the folks that we have brought in, it's right there. You can't deny. Codes Department contingent inspect stormwater, including erosion control, measured all inspections and we're certified by TDEC, and we got, a couple that's gonna do level 2 even. So they really bought into that, and a lot of the new things that are getting pushed down with TDEC on the local level, imagine that, things from the state getting pushed on the local level. With the MS4 and the permits and stuff, basically weed through all the stuff that TDEC's saying, and for all the years they said, oh, well, that's good. You've given us what you said you're doing. Now prove it. We won't see it. So that's what's coming down the pike. Planning Department, beginning work with consultant on the first update to the county's comprehensive growth plan since the original one in 2000. That's going well. That information is going to be starting to roll out as early as next week. Goals, continue to review and refine our process procedures. Integration of MyGov, permitting review, online scheduling systems, something we've worked hard to hopefully get to help the citizens. By the way, to be able to print permits and COs right there in the truck on the job site. Evaluate, update current regulations, zoning, subdivisions, appropriate and necessary for implementation, comprehensive plan. Hopefully be able to replace and standardize our fleet, inspection vehicles. It's pretty much the same, pretty static going forward. 25,000, that will go to something I asked y'all for in January, but this would be the next step to keep us in line with that third party and keeping Blount County where it needs to be on the MS4 permits. This operates and budget worksheet, okay. And you've seen and you know what that is. Here's trucks or SUVs. And once again, y'all afforded us back in the day to have the Nissans, but time goes by quickly, and those have got a lot of miles, rightfully so, of what these people do or has to do. Starting to do a lot of repairs. Not so good on fuel mileage. So I think there's going to be savings there without question. It's kind of where we think we're at with the inspection vehicles.
That was the second part of the presentation that just looked at and reviewed. Does anyone have any questions? Any questions at all? Yes, go ahead, Brian.
I just have one question about the trucks for development, the F-150s. Is there any? Do you see any path forward? Do you have some that are a lot worse than others where we could talk about staging and staggering this, or is it got to have 9?
I'm going to say, Brian, that there's some zones that we've had some in, they're not as bad as others. By and large, they've all got a lot of miles, and basically what we have to do, the breakdowns are becoming by far closer together. And the only way we can keep inspections up is utilizing, if we've got a highway truck setting or a highway vehicle setting. And so while Karen's figuring out how to try to get those Nissans fixed, we still got to get those inspections done. But by and large, wouldn't you say?
The mileage on the vehicles ranging there from we have some that are in like right 500, up to 150 to 160. But probably 7 of those 9, you're looking at, looks like 120 or better.
Yeah.
7 of the 9 are at least 120 or better.
I would say it's a,
You know, they have been fairly reliable, but now on that mileage and the years, we have a pretty significant breakdown on this last couple of weeks. Several $1,000s.
yeah, and I think what you're seeing, Brian, once they get up in that mileage, it's computers. That's the downfall, and Sean and his guys are great. And by and large, they can fix about anything on them. If it gets in that computer brain, now they can replace it, but we gotta get the part there. That's kind of where it's starting to get. But now, leading up to that, tires, brakes, bulbs, things of that nature. Hey, them guys, they fix that stuff in and out in no time. But now we're kind of clicking on things. We got to figure out how to get that inspection done and get it fixed.
Thank you.
But I that's, yeah, we can look at something there.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good. Anything else? Any other questions? See none. Thank you all. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you for the presentation.